All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to episode 32 of the Red Plates podcast. This one is a big one. We have Marcellus Williams on the podcast. He is one of the most popular coaches and best coaches in the game. And of course, I'm a little biased because he's also my coach. But thank you for coming on the show, Marcellus. How are you doing?
I'm doing well, man. I'm doing very well. Finally feeling recovered from, you know, nationals and whatnot. I feel like it took me the whole week to just get back to like sleeping and eating and everything being normalized again.
hmm
So yeah, I'm doing well. Happy to be here.
Yeah, thanks, man. Yeah, I remember. So you competed, what was it, Friday during the day, and then you had to handle all of Friday night for the prime time, and then the next day as well, right?
Yeah, so I got in on Wednesday, was there Thursday making calls from the for prime time from the audience because my coach Brad didn't want me to directly be back there, so he was handling my client Megan while I was kind of making calls from the audience. Then yeah, I competed on Friday, handled Friday primetime session, did not sleep Friday night. I tried, it just wasn't gonna go down. I was too wired, and then I handled all three sessions on Saturday.
Wow. So yeah, you were dead because you also did some big lifts, right? Like, and you pulled 280 as well after like your whole meet conventional, and then you just toasted after, right?
Yeah, actually physically I felt fine overall. It was more so just like just being mentally tired from like not sleeping. It's actually probably the best I felt physically post the meet, surprisingly.
Oh
So
wow.
that was nice. Probably part of, just not cutting to 74 anymore. That probably helps.
Yeah. Well, Angelo was on the pod like last time, like one of the most recent podcasts, and he was saying when I was 74, I was oversized, but you are most definitely an oversized 74 because you are jacked.
Yeah, I was definitely, it was just getting to the point where I was just too lean from it. Because even my last 74 meet was Carolina Prime Time. I think that was like 2023. And the cut went great and the recomp went great, but then my body just feels awful for like 2 to 3 weeks after that. It's like,
Mm.
bro, you're not meant to be this lean. What are you doing? So it's hard to bounce back from it. That's the big thing. So that's why that was my last 74 meet.
Yeah. And how tall are you again? Because you're a bit taller than me.
I'm 5'8".
5'8". Okay.
Yeah, that's tall for 24.
Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. I'll never forget the first time I went to USAPL Nationals in 2019 and realized just like how short 74s actually are. I was like, oh my God, this is crazy. Because you never, like if you're 5'8", you don't think of yourself as tall. So you don't think like, oh, I'm too tall for this class. But then you go and see like how tall the best of the best are. And it's like, oh wow, this is insane. All right. So yeah.
Yeah, oh, it's so different. And that's like the running joke, I think. Well, especially with Trevor, because Trevor is very tall. But a lot of powerlifters claim a little taller than they are. And then you see
Yeah.
like these top level lifters, and you're like, whoa, like everyone's a lot shorter than I thought.
Yeah, it's funny because I actually was claiming shorter than I was for the longest time. Because like I would always say like, oh yeah, I'm 5'7" because that's what my license says, right? Not even think about the fact that, well, bro, you got your license when you were in high school. Like, and you have like, and it's not like they make you update your measurements on it or whatever. It was actually my sister was like, Marcellus, you're not 5'7". I'm like, yes, I am. It says so on my license. She's like, Marcellus, you're at least this many inches taller than me. You can't be 5'7". You have to be at least 5'8". So I was like, all right, well, let's find out. Went to the doctor, had them measure me. And I was like, oh, she's right. Cool. I get an extra inch.
I think I've actually shrunk since I got my measurement for my license. Because I think my
Really?
license says like 5'10", and I feel like I've been compressed from squatting over time. That's just my theory. I don't know. I feel like I've gotten shorter.
I thought the same thing, and then me and Paige were actually joking around like 2 weekends ago. We measured each other, and I'm actually the exact same height. I,
Mm.
I thought just being heavy in general, I would probably shrink a bit, but it's like the exact same as it was like in high school, surprisingly.
I think for me, it's just my younger brother has now like sprouted. He's taller than me, so I just feel,
You just feel
yeah, I
short.
feel like yeah.
Yeah.
What
Yeah,
about
I don't
you,
know.
Luke? You
I've
still
always been
going?
short. Yeah, I know. It's just always been little guy. Even though for me, like I'm like 5'6" or 5'7", probably 5'6". Like let's not, be those other power lifters just bumping it up. But even when I was 74, I was quite tall for 74. Like
Mhm.
I don't know the actual heights of everyone because like I said, people are, maybe an inch or so off of what they're saying. But I do remember like anytime I'd be like on a podium or behind, I'm like significantly like I don't know, like an inch or two taller, but it does go a long way in powerlifting. Like the shorter and more like stocky you can be, typically is better.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I was gonna say, I think a lot of it has to do with your leverages as well. Like, if you're taller but you're just well leveraged, you can kind of get away with it. In my case, it's like, okay, I'm tall for 74s. I'm horribly leveraged for all three lifts. Let me move up. This is a horrible mistake. After I got that 505 dots and 700 total at that weight class, I was like, cool, I'm good. Let's keep it pushing. Let's keep it pushing.
Yeah. Well, and the other thing too is for you especially, I feel like you could not easily, because that's like a bad way to put it, but you put on muscle well. Like you're a jack dude. So you're probably just holding yourself back a little by being so lean, right?
Yeah, for sure, for sure. Especially like, I mean, that's a big part of why my numbers started like going up more consistently once we kind of found like, well, once I moved up, but then also found like, oh, I need to do like way more now that I actually am heavier and getting that proper response. So yeah,
Mhm.
it's been good. I have no regrets with moving up at all, especially because for me, like I know a lot of people get focused on things like dots and this and that, but I just think back to like, okay, when I first started powerlifting, why did I start powerlifting? It was to get as big and as strong as possible. So that's my
Yeah.
focus.
Yeah, 100%. I find myself telling like a lot of my younger lifters that all the time because I also was in their shoes, obviously. And there's probably things now where I'm like, oh, I could do that better. But like when you're looking back on it, I remember being 74, and when I would make 74, I'd perform okay, not as well as I thought I should, but I would be so like lean, like I'd have like feathering in the quads and stuff. So I would feel really good and like, oh yeah, look at me, I'm jacked. But really, like I should have moved up a long time ago. And I'm always telling my lifters, like, weight classes don't really exist in a way. Like you're here to get bigger and stronger. Unless like your goal is to stay in the weight class, you should definitely allow yourself to grow, you know? People are scared of that,
Yeah.
it seems.
Yeah, I mean, it makes sense if you have a specific goal, like, hey, I could place here at nationals or here at worlds, or even like, hey, I'm trying to hit a specific total at this weight class that I know I can hit, or hey, I'm trying to hit this dots and then moving up. But it's Johnny Candido said this a long while ago on this interview I did with him, where he said powerlifting is one of those things where nobody really can set your goals or like your timeline for your goals for you. It's all on you. But it is important to set those things. Otherwise, you find people kind of just spinning their wheels over and over. And it's like, dude, if you would have, and I think what it is when it comes to moving up, is you're like, oh, I won't be as competitive. It's like, well, yeah, but you're already kind of stalled here. You're gonna just keep spinning your wheels for the next 3 years, then finally move up and be like, oh, I'm feeling so much better. It's like, where would you have been if you had spent those 3 years already moving up? You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
it's all relative to, long-term goals and remembering that powerlifting, you're not gonna get a whole lot of short-term instant gratification anyway. So yeah.
hmm Yeah, it's a hard pill to swallow when you know like some people really care about the dots, like, oh, my dots will go down probably, but also like I'm gonna go maybe from placing like top five or top 10 to like being like super low in the rankings. And if that's what you care
Yeah.
about, it's a hard thing to accept, but it's
The
almost always for the better.
The placing makes sense to me. Whenever people talk about their dots, I'm like, oh, what's your dots? If they're like, oh, it's like 45, 490, I'm like, okay, I get it. Like you're right near like that 500 mark. But when they're like, oh, it's like 450 or less, I'm like, bro, nobody cares about your dots. Like, just move up. Like, just move
Yeah,
up.
yeah, no, it's true. So let's move into your competition day because you were saying that you felt your best ever, right? Like training, like everything you feel like was really like locked in, squat, bench, and deadlift. Like you guys figured out the programming really well. And so do you want to run us through a bit of your prep and then your actual competition day?
Yeah, so as far as the prep, it was basically a 4 block macro cycle. That is one thing that we kind of discovered after the meet is like I seem to show up best on that third block. I'm just as strong on the fourth block, if not a bit stronger, and that's the block that meet fell on. But I tend to have a little bit more fatigue on me at that point than what we like. So that is one thing we kind of learned from it. But yeah, no, I mean the prep went incredibly well. So basically the way it works with my programming is the way we approach my squats a little bit different. Like block one will be like top sets of fives on my primary day for weeks 1 and 2, then top sets of fours on week 3 and 4. Block two will be like it'll go like 4 4 3 3. Then block three will go 3 3 2 2, and then the final block will go like 2 2 1 1. So I PR'd the squat every block of prep. I hit like it was 507 for four, the first block, and then I hit 535 for three, the second block, and then I hit 550 for two, the third block. And that was huge for me because my
Mhm.
best squat in the meet is 252.5, and my best squat in training from the pre-training cycle was 255. So that was awesome. I felt a lot of confidence with that. Bench and deadlifts up until like we've changed up now, but at this point we're running pretty much like singles across all blocks on that for the primary. So ended up getting up to a 180 kilo bench, 396 pounds, and that was all time PR for me. And then the deadlift, what did I pull? I think I did pull 280 actually, like pull 280 in training, which for me is huge. So my deadlift gets pretty tanked in training. So prep went great. And even on the meet day, even if I felt maybe like a little more fatigued than I did in block three, I still felt like all time strong. Squat opener flew, second attempt on squats flew. Third attempt was where things started to get a little bit unfortunate. It felt really good on my back. Strength felt high. And after going back and watching the second, we both felt very confident for it. But and Luke, you'll know this better because you know my training. But I get to the point about halfway up, I kind of hit this brief stall. The bar rolls a little bit, but I'm still going. Like I'm still like trying to fight through it. And right as I start to feel myself coming up, because like I can always tell when I'm in that position, I know immediately if like, oh, I'm screwed, or oh, I think I can push through this. So I'm still
Mhm.
pushing through it. And right as I start coming up, I feel the spotters take the weight off me.
Oh,
And I'm shaking my head at me like, no, 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 no. I'm like, what's going on? Like, why is this happening? What's going on? Um, but the head judge, I think he realized it. I think like I mean he straight up told me after the fact, but basically when he saw the bar roll, it kind of freaked him out a little bit because he wanted to go on my neck. So so he told him to take it. But as he was saying take it is when I started moving up. So he realized it immediately. My coach Brad went to the jury table, but the head judge went to the jury table pretty much along with him. It was like, yeah, give him the relift like that. I called to her. That was on me. But as you know, Luke, the whole reason why I make the jumps that I do is because I'm kind of good for one big grind. So
Mhm.
I still retook it. I was like, I'm here for a specific total, which is, 727 and a half, 1600, 1603. So I'm like, I have to hit this squat to get that. So tried it again, got halfway through. Legs still felt strong, but at that point, my back was just toast. Once again, I'm kind of good for like one big burst squat. Bench went decently. Opener, second flew. Unfortunately, like, and that was the one thing I knew too. I'm like, man, if I take this 260 twice, I might cook myself on the bench potentially. Just because historically speaking, because my back is very involved in my bench just with the way I set up and whatnot. Oh, but opener still flew, second flew, but because just to be safe, because originally we're thinking like based off the 180 I hit in training, like okay, maybe 182 and a half, 185 for the third. But I was like, let's just hit the 180. Let's just match that. I should be good for that. Felt great in the hands, felt good coming up. And then about like halfway up, I feel my left erector and left leg kind of seize on me, which is for the 260 twice. So I couldn't quite lock that out. And then by deadlifts, after my opener second, I felt very strong to like PR the deadlift. But at that point, it's like, okay, even if I do that, I'm not PRing the total. I'm not getting the total I want. So I told Brad, I said, hey, you make the call. I'm like, you can put on whatever you want. If you want to put on the PR, let's do it. If you want to put on a little bit less, just to see if I could hit the PR, but make sure we close the day out right on a 7 for 9 day, then we can do that. So we put in the 280 that I hit in training, and it like is the easiest I've ever hit that. Like I tend to have
Mhm.
to grind pretty hard for my third deadlifts, and like when I hit the stink I can fight through it. And there was just no sticking point, no stall. It was very smooth. It felt great. I don't regret that we didn't push it though, because like it was still heavy enough for me to know like, okay, cool, yeah, we could have hit that 287, 290 range. But yeah, it was one of those things where the day did not go the way that I wanted in terms of, the result. But I wasn't, it was weird. It's like you would think this would be the most upset I'd ever be post meet, but it's actually the most peace I've been post meet. And I think a big part of it is that unlike other meets before, it's like, okay, this wasn't a lack of strength, this wasn't a lack of preparation, this wasn't in a lack of like, proper calls. It's just that one circumstance on the day kind of just set everything else off. And I'm very big on if you know you did everything that you were supposed to do to the best of your ability and you just don't get the result you want, that's just the design that was there for the day. You learn from it, you keep it moving, and you go from there. So at this point, I'm just excited to, just keep building, get bigger, get stronger, and pretty much make it to where, okay, next time on the platform, if I do compete again later this year or early next year, we'll see. Then 1,600 pounds, just wanting it to be something where I don't have to go all out to even hit that. And we'll see how I feel about it. 'Cause like I said, I'm still very at peace with the result. And my plan originally was for that to be my only meet that I did this year. But if I do one more towards the end of the year, if I kind of get that itch, I might do it just so I can say that I PR'd my total for 10 years in a row because I've been doing this for 10 years. So that would be kind of cool to say. And then after that, I can maybe kind of chill, take a break because I'm about to have my second child and everything like that. So I know things are going to start picking up a lot in 2026 where I might not have time to prep. So if I do another meet, it may possibly be like at the end of the year. So we'll see. But yeah, I mean, I was still it's weird. Like I said I wasn't happy with the result, but I'm still happy with the day, if that makes sense. Like just to go in feeling that confident and feeling strong and feeling capable and not doubting anything that was loaded, that's a very underrated feeling. Because you can have a great meet day where you're shocked that it went well because like, man, the prep was so bad. No, I didn't think I was going to get this. And I don't know, having that feeling of confidence of just like capability and knowing what I've done and knowing that, hey, how the day went doesn't take away from the strength I built. It just left me feeling still very satisfied regardless.
Mhm. Yeah. I seen your caption and it was like, I guess you posted it only a few days later, but I think going in you had that mindset. But it's pretty cool to see that even though the day wasn't like the day you wanted, that pretty quickly you were able to just be like, okay, like it doesn't matter. Like I was happy with what I did in the prep and I'm at peace with it. Because I mean, I'm someone who has a hard time doing that sometimes, right? Like if I do something bad, even if I'm like, oh, I did do everything outside of or like in the gym, outside of the gym properly, I'll still be like, well, damn. But at the end of the day, it is a sport. Like when the ref told them to take it, it's like that's a call that happens. Like that happens in sports all the time. But for us as
Exactly.
powerlifters, we prep like 16 and then all the training plus weeks. And then we get to the day and it's like you compete, like you said, once a year, maybe twice. So it hurts sometimes, but it's good that you have that mentality because you have nothing to overthink. Just get back into training.
Yeah, man. I mean, a big part of that for me personally, and I know everyone's different. For me, it's kind of just like, my faith. I'm very big on like, hey, God is sovereign. If I do everything I'm supposed to do, and I'm like, Lord, your will be done. And if that's the result I got, it's like, all right, well, I can't be mad. Just keep it going. And not in a passive way, like, not in the sense of like, oh, I don't care that this happened. Like, no, of course you care. Of course, when the squat first happened, I was bummed. But to me, there's just something about like, okay, it's okay to feel this way, but how am I going to react to those feelings? What am I going to do to bounce back from this to be better? What can I learn from this? And I literally said it, I think, in my last YouTube video before the meet, where I said, hey, I've had a perfect prep and something can still go crazy on the day. Like, I fully am aware of that and accept that. I think sometimes as powerlifters, when we have really good prep, we almost feel like we're owed a good meet. But like you just said, it's a sport. You're not owed anything.
Mm.
Like you still got to execute. Things can still happen. And even though I could sit here and be like, um, oh man, like it's if they just hadn't taken it. And yeah, if they hadn't, I probably would have gone through it. But when I look at my retake on the second attempt, I feel like my position control is even better on it. And I was like, well, you know what? If I had approached the first attempt that way and not had to stall at all, I wouldn't have given them a reason to even think to take it. So that's how I look at it. Like even when the
Mhm.
head judge came and like apologized to me afterwards and stuff like that, I was like, hey man, you were doing your job. You're doing what you thought was right. The spotters doing what they thought was right. They were just listening. Because even the back spotter said like when the judge first said to take it, he like hesitated to take it because he saw me like going up. But I was like, that's on me. Like if I was stronger and would have made it move better, then that wouldn't have even been a question. So that's how I look at it.
No, that's really good. I feel like because I mean at our past nationals, like there's like a misload and like someone went onto social media to take it to like make it a big deal and kind of say like the spotters are like morons is what was said. And I think that the mentality that you have just shows like I think how people should try and approach it. Because like the ref wanted to save you, he just cared about your
Mhm.
safety. And it's like the spotters and loaders are just volunteering. And like, yeah, they're there to
Exactly.
save you at the end of the day.
Yeah, plus I'm realistic, man. Like I've seen my squat grinds and I know how crazy they look. And it's like if you're not used to that, you're gonna think you need to take it. So I get it. And the only thing I'll
Mhm.
say is like, hey, if it doesn't go down, just
Yeah.
just just let me do my thing. I think that's just a good rule of thumb in general, because that is the rule. Like if it doesn't go down. But yeah, I can't be mad at that. And then even when spotters make an honest mistake like a misload, I get it. I get it. Like, hey, this has been, let's say, 3, 6, 9 months of preparation for one day, and it sucks when something goes wrong because of that. But keep in mind, man, spotters are volunteers. They probably like, let's say you're like the second or third session of the day. They've been doing this all day, probably been doing it for multiple days, not getting a lot of sleep. Mistakes happen. Like, show them the
Mhm.
same grace you would want someone to show you if you made that mistake. Because it's not like they're just sitting here like, oh yeah, I'm gonna screw over Luke today, man. Put on that extra red. You know what I mean? Like it's probably an honest mistake. And yes, like learn from it. Like, hey, double check, head judge, double check, all that. But we're human. Human error is gonna happen. Show each other a little bit of grace.
Mhm. 100%. And then lastly, one thing I want to touch on that you mentioned is like you can have this great prep and things might not show up like the way that you wanted because it's a sport. And I'm sure you've had lifters who you coach or people that are friends that like they've had a bad prep and showed up and had a great day, right? Like it really is
Absolutely.
kind of just like that sometimes. And so I feel like when you're having a great prep, you should still just be focused on like the execution. And when you're not having a good prep and you feel like maybe pulling out, you just like just go through with it and have faith, like you're saying.
Yeah, absolutely. It's like it's kind of like I tell people like, look, if you, let's say, you're running like a typical 4-week block or whatever, and your week 4 primary doesn't show up quite the way you want, that does not somehow negate the previous 3.9 weeks of training that went really, really well, right?
Mhm.
So it's kind of like, clients may have several good blocks, then maybe that final block before the meet doesn't go well, and they're all in their head, oh my gosh, how am I going to show up? It's like, bro, relax. It was one block. You've had several good ones. Like, we're going to
Mhm.
go in there, we're going to have the game plan, we're going to make the calls based on how things are moving, and that's what you do, right? But I think a big part of that does just come from the fact that we don't compete as often as other sports. Like with other sports, it's like, if you lose a game, it's like, all right, bounce back next weekend. You know what I mean? Whereas with us, it just feels like this huge thing because of the fact that we don't compete as frequently. But yeah, you just got to stick with it, go in and do your best. I mean, that was my thing too. Like after what happened with the squat, and this is the first time I've ever felt this in my 10 years of competing. But after the squat, I actually had the thought of like, man, do I want to finish the meet? But not for the reason most people would, not like, oh, I'm not gonna get the tool I want, but more so the fact that I'm like, okay, I came here for a specific goal. I'm not gonna be able to hit that. And I have to handle after this for the entire rest of this weekend. I'm like, do I want to be cooked doing that? But then I was like, nah, I gotta finish what I start because that's what I would tell a client to do. So, and I'm glad that I did. We finished on a high note. So
Mhm. Oh yeah. No, it's important to do that. I've handled lifters of my own or other people's lifters that like something doesn't go right and they just want to quit. And it's like, no, no, like you will regret that decision, you know? Like you're here
hmm
for a reason, you trained for a reason, you paid to be here. Like you just
exactly.
have to like, okay, squat's over, time to bench. But
Yeah.
yeah, no, it's hard to do sometimes when you get like really upset, like not in your situation, but like someone who's just doing one of their first meets or something. But it's like,
Yeah.
no, like you got to stick through. This is the plan.
Yeah. I mean, it's just good sportsmanship too. It's like, bruh, there's probably other people there that aren't having great days and they're still sticking through it. Like, or there might even be somebody, and you just never know. Like, sometimes we're so focused on our own goals. There might be somebody there where their whole goal was they were like training and they realized, oh, our toes are close. I want to beat this guy. And if you just quit and pull out, you're kind of taking away from them to a degree too.
Hmm.
You know what I mean? Like, at the end of the day, it's like you're there to compete, so compete.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Do you want to run us through some of your lifters' day? Like we wanted to talk a bit about Sean Noriega's day because this is like this is his best meet ever, and the execution was on point, and that's something that he's struggled with in the past. So maybe just run through his day and kind of like how it's been since you started taking over his training.
Yeah. So Sean and I started working together. I think I want to say it was September of 20, was it September 2023? I think something like that. It's been about like a year and a half basically. So yeah, I want to say like September 2023 after that nationals that he did. And pretty much I always tell people this. I said I got the best version of Sean in the sense of like with past coaches, like with Steve, Joey, etc. And he's talked about this openly, admitted it himself. So I'm not saying anything that's not already been said, but like, he would kind of get in his own way because he would kind of like be lifter and co-coach and it would also be like overly collaborative. Um, and so there's that aspect. And then I think to a degree, we also have to think about personality types. I think some coaches can sometimes almost be too collaborative in the sense of like instead of like listening to the feedback and then taking the reins to do what they need to do, it's almost like, if you have a lifter as strong as Sean, as experienced a coach as Sean, you almost might want to like you might question your own thought process when you're listening to what he's telling you he thinks you should do and stuff like that. Whereas with me, that just wasn't an issue. Like it's one of these things where he came to me very much like, hey man, look, you say, you tell me to jump, I'm just gonna ask how high. Like I've tried doing things this way, I've tried doing things on my own, I've tried self-coaching, like I've seen what you're doing with other people. I'm here to just be the lifter and trust whatever you want to do. I'm going to do whatever you want to do. And I tell them like, all right, like these are my standards, these are my expectations. Like even though you're my friend, even though you're a business partner, powerful now, like just know like if you don't meet these expectations, I will drop you. I don't care. Because that's just how it is. Like you're not like none of my clients get special treatment. You're all paying the same, you're all getting the same level of effort, energy, etc. And I'm like, I want your feedback. I want you to tell me like what you're feeling. But ultimately know that if I give you something, I need you to trust it, I need you to follow it, no going off program, no this and that. And he's done a great job with that. Like everything I've needed him to do, everything I needed him to send, giving the feedback the way I needed, he's done a great job with it. And I think a big thing for him that's helped a lot was just getting the squat on point first, because that's the lift for him that was stalled out for such a long time. And as a result, stalling out his total for such a long time. And it's like, it's big because that's the lift you start a meet with. So it's kind of like when that doesn't go well, it kind of just derails momentum for the rest of the time. But yeah, we just, as we changed things with program. We had him doing things he had never done before, going probably more sub-max on certain things than what he's ever done before. Having him on a more structured 3-day split where it's like, hey, this is your primary day, this is the day we push, this is your secondary day, this is to bridge the gap, this is your tertiary day, this is like just for practice. Like, do not push too hard on this day. Here's your assign, and a lot of stuff was through assigned lows, like on his primary secondary day, so we couldn't push too aggressively, giving him an idea of like talking about ranges and stuff like that. Um, but yeah, the squat was the first thing where we just really got that moving and really got that blowing up. And with that came confidence, as well as getting him to not change his tech so much. Like, hey man, you're gonna have some days that feel better than others. Don't overthink it. Don't change your tech. This is your best positioning. This is when you feel good, when you brace like this, when your stance is like this. Leave it. Just leave it. I don't care if you have a day that feels rough. Trust the process. You're gonna feel better when you need to, right? So addressing that from the start, I think helped a lot. With the bench, we've had to play around with a lot of different stuff just because he went from the big arch and soft touch to having to sync and whatnot. So we found like a combination of, bench programming and pushing accessories that kind of helps that feel good. And then the most recent thing was his deadlift, because his deadlift is the lift that, even though his squat was the one that was stalled for the longest, his deadlift was probably the most inconsistent. He would have random spurts where it's going really, really well, and then random spurts where it wasn't going well. That happened with Steve, that happened with Joey, that happened with TSG. And even with us, it was happening. We would make a change. He would start feeling really, really good, and then it would just kind of fizzle out. So eventually it got to a point where I'm like, okay, if I was having this problem with any other lift where it's like, okay, we know we're doing enough volume, we know we're doing enough overall intensity, we can't add more to the days we have. What would I do? I would add another day. So we added a third sumo day. And ever since then, it's just been consistent. Like the third sumo day, what it allows us to do is kind of like he has his primary day. We push the secondary day relatively hard. The third sumo day just lets us kind of bridge the gap, get some practice, like with a relatively light assigned single. And then he does a light 2x6 to get a little bit more volume in the legs. And with that, that's just been huge. So that's a very quick kind of brief overview. I'll probably do like a case study video on Profit Now for Sean's full programming for anyone who's interested in that. But as far as the meet day, I think what gave us a lot of confidence was we PR'd his total in December with that 850. And that was the first time he had PR'd the squat on the platform in years, first time he hit a PR total in some years. So that already gave us a lot of confidence because even though that day went well, that was before we introduced the third day on the deadlift and before we kind of refined a few more things with the bench. So with the prep, we just felt very, very confident with like the game plan that we had and how well things were moving. So as far as how his day went, I mean, it was great. We pretty much had planned for him to hit anywhere between 305 and 310 on the squat. He hit 307 and a half, and it moved very, very well. On his opener, he got 2 whites and 1 red. So after I just told him, say, hey man, don't change anything. You're good. Like the heavier weight will naturally kind of push you down. Just trust yourself, keep your positioning, and you'll be good. So we went to his second, which I believe we put on 295, I want to say. Smoked it, 3 whites. The only thing I noticed was as he was coming up, like the speed with the legs was great, but it just seemed like his positioning was kind of like from the angle I was at, like was kind of like shifting a little bit. And I then later, when I went back and watched last year, realized he was kind of shifting to the side. Um, so based off that positioning being a little bit off, I'm like, okay, he looks strong enough for 310, but let's do 307.5 just to be safe. That way, if he loses position, he can fight through it. So he did that, and that went incredibly well. Um, with bench, same thing. His bench opener moved very, very well. Took a record 2.8 on the second. After the way the 2.8 moved, though, because I noticed he wasn't using like the full blunt of his leg drive just because he's trying to make sure his glutes stayed secured on the bench. So I was like, okay, every kilo counts for this battle. Let's just be smart and secure we can. So I just went with 210. And I think based on how that moved, that was the right call because it was enough for him to be able to drive through without the glutes coming off the bench at all. And then deadlifts are the ones that kind of sting in the sense of like his deadlift has never looked that good. Like his opener was smoke, his second was smoke. The fact that he took his third attempt from December on his second attempt here, and that he already PR'd his total by 7.5 on the second pull was huge. And our goal coming in was to hit anywhere between 870 to 880 and just kind of see where that puts us placing wise. We figured that would give us either second or third. We were pretty confident for second, but obviously Taylor Atwood showed up much stronger than what I think anybody was expecting him to. So at that point, what we put on for his third attempt was 852.5, and that was just to lock in third place over Delaney. And once again, smokes off the floor, gets right to lockout, and then suddenly just drops out of his hand, which we weren't expecting that at all. And we think part of it might just be we just need to adjust where his grip is. We think it might be a thing where he's kind of like, even though he's setting it well, like when he gets near lockout, kind of rubbing against his quads potentially a little bit. That's the only thing that we think it could be. So we're gonna kind of play with his grip. But as far as strength and programming, it's kind of the same thing. It's like yeah, it wasn't the result we wanted. We finished fourth instead of top three, but it's kind of like you can't be mad at the day because Sean said
Mhm.
himself, he has never felt that strong across all three on the same day. It's the best he's ever felt in the meet. PR at the total on the second pull. Like to go from stalling and constantly not PR on the total to now being able to do it by your second pull is huge. Knowing that he was capable of like that 870, 880 range is huge. Give or take his grip holds up. So I mean, it was awesome. I was very proud of him. And just even like I said, his growth as a lifter to go from not even just with the coaching aspect where it's like whatever I want to do programming wise, he does it. When I ask for feedback, even when he gets feedback, he's very kind of, hey, here's what I'm feeling, but he doesn't even make so much suggestion on what we thinks we should do unless I ask because he wants to give me the reins. But even on meet day, Sean's very much like you make the calls. Like I'll tell you how I feel. I'm not even gonna say a number to you. Like you make the calls, and here's how I feel, and you put in what you think. And that level of trust is huge because it allows me to do my thing, which I think allows him to do his thing to the best of his ability. He can just be the lifter and just execute. So it was awesome to see him show up and show out. And I think, I say all that to say to bring it full circle and answer your question when you gain consistency in training and you're able to replicate it at the end of each block over and over and over, and then you just line the meet up that way, I think it takes a lot of the pressure away because it's like I can do this. I do this every week for on my SBD day or on my primary squad day, however it's set up. Like I do this every week for. I know I can do this. I've shown I can do this to standard. I think that's the big thing. I think sometimes people feel like, oh, you got to get more confident on the platform. You got to get better with your execution. A lot of that just comes from programming. If you feel strong and you're consistently strong, you're going to feel confident to execute on meet day.
Mm. Yeah, that's something big that has kind of shifted when I started working with you. It's just like because we don't compete often, like we talked about earlier, right? So the competition can be such a big deal, especially if you like think, oh, I should be able to do X, or like this is a national level meet. You put like these expectations on yourself. But if you can like have your training kind of just line up normally, it kind of just feels like a glorified training day. And like you have spotters and you have the hype, so it's even better. You don't have back downs if you
Mhm.
do SBD. So like I like it in that regard because you can just walk in and remind yourself like I've been doing this like pretty much it, depending on like the split and structure that you run, but like at the end of every week 4 or 5 or whatever, you're hitting big lifts anyway. So it's much easier to put it together, less stress, right?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I think for the longest time, people's mentality was like they would kind of train however, maybe kind of sporadic, make changes week to week or block to block, and randomly feel strong, and then just hope that with this perfect peak and taper, it's all going to come together on meet day. But the key is like, no, create consistent, predictable training where you know what you can do, you can repeat it, you can replicate it, and then just build that into a meet. And that way it's more consistent. Like you don't have to hope the stars align. It's like, okay, I know what I can do just based on what I did last block, right? And that gives you an idea. And then, like you said, plus little things like if you do slightly taper the week going into the meet, or you do have the hype of like everybody around you, like all those different circumstances, it kind of gives you like a mental boost as well. So
Mhm.
yeah, that's why I tell people, consistency and predictability is the most important part of training. Because if you have those two things, you're going to get stronger. From there, it's just adjusting what little things you need to, fine tuning it to make yourself feel the way you need to. Like, oh, okay, weight's feeling heavier than we want. Okay, let's adjust intensity. Oh, weight feels fine, but like we're lacking pop. Okay, let's adjust volume. Oh, you feel strong, but you have to warm up a lot to feel like primed and ready. Okay, let's put your secondary squat day a little bit closer. Like, just those small adjustments versus it being a thing where okay, I randomly felt strong on this Tuesday, but last week I felt strong on Friday and I don't know what's going on. Okay, let's just change three different things next block and hope it works. You don't even know what you're changing or why. So,
Yep, 100%. Yeah, I think also when people are running into a meet and they have like their big last lifts, maybe like 2 weeks out or something, you kind of put in your mind, like, I need to hit this number in order to hit this number. And you're like, okay, well, I'm getting close and the peak will save me. But sometimes it's just like you get in your own head. And if you like make something feel heavy, like you're 2 weeks out, you don't normally lift that heavy in that kind of time frame. You just do a big pull and it
Mhm.
feels like trash, then you're going to be in your head about it. So yeah, I definitely get what you mean. I think a lot more people are starting to follow that. And you can see like someone with Sean who was more inconsistent, like often, like how much it's kind of helped, right? So I
yeah,
think
no,
it's a
for
good
sure.
case study. Yeah, if you make that video for powerlifting now, will definitely be a really good one.
Yeah, for sure. It's funny. I made a joke when Sean first hit the 850 in December. I was like, bro, I should retire from coaching right now. I can just be done and be like, bro, I helped Sean went 9 for 9. If you're at the total, like I'm done. I'm done.
Yeah, no, that was really good. And the whole 83 battle was amazing. So
Oh, it
you were
was
going in.
crazy.
Yeah, I think that was like one of the most hyped sessions. I think Trevor and Kyle agree that I've ever
Oh yeah,
watched. Like,
yeah.
yeah, it was unreal. Like every lift, even like from first attempts, you're interested to see how things move and like what kind of jumps are we making. You have like the score sheet in your hand, even though you're not coaching. You're like trying to like predict. But yeah, so you had Chris Perez and Sean Noriega in that session. Did you have anyone else?
Yeah, I also had a Shun Jabril. I had him as
Okay,
well. So yeah, so I had three in
sick.
that session. Yeah.
So was that were you had helpers obviously right in the back?
Yeah, I tend to whenever I have multiple people going at once, I tend to have helpers at least in the warm-up room so that way like I can focus on the platform, especially if it's like two sessions going at the same time or if it's like one of the earlier sessions where it's like okay, it's a three platform meet. I've got this guy going here, this guy going here. That way it keeps things a little bit more smooth as far as that. So yeah, I had my coach Brad kind of just sticking around with Chris the whole time in the warm-up room. And then Michael C, he was sticking around with Shun. And then Steve was kind of sticking around with Sean whenever he could, whenever he
Okay.
wasn't coaching his own person. So yeah, kept it nice and smooth.
Okay, cool. And that battle kind of panned out, besides obviously Sean, how you expected, because you said Taylor came in super strong. Everyone was kind of shocked at how crazy Taylor was.
Yeah, so pretty much it's funny. So the next Profit Now podcast, we actually break down like what our predictions were, what ended up happening, how we adjusted on the day. But basically, I mean, Joe did exactly what I figured he would. The only thing Joe did that I did not expect was I thought he was just going to ensure the win on the second pull, then go for the 900 on the third pull. He ended up doing both on the second pull. So like, so that was the one thing. And it was funny, 'cause I'll never forget, like we were in the back room, like, and he loaded it, like, you hear my coach Brad and Matt Gary being like, oh man, that's a ballsy move. Like that's high risk, high reward. Like he doesn't need that. He doesn't have to do that. And I agree with him. Like, yeah, he doesn't have to. I was like, but he's gonna get it. And they're like, oh man, I don't know. I'm like, there's no way he's loading that and putting that risk for Taylor to win unless he 100% knows he's gonna
Yeah.
get it. Like there's just you're not gonna have this perfect day and set everything up and do unless you know. And I'm like, plus the way he trains and the SBD days he does stuff like that. I'm like, I think he knows about like he's gonna get it. Maybe it's all he's got. Maybe it's like 9.5. But there's no like if he misses it, I would have been shocked because it's like that's so stupid to do unless you know you got it, right? So
I still don't get the
but
strategy behind it. Like, I don't know why he did it, to be honest. But now that I think back, I guess it's because Taylor was so strong that if like Taylor hit his third, it would have pushed Joe to like load what he had to win, and that might not have been 900.
exactly that's exactly what it is. I feel like it's a thing where it's like okay, if he loaded whatever for a second, because I don't know if you guys noticed, so he changed his opener.
Yeah.
Yeah, he changed his opener because basically he ended up taking his original opener in the warm up room, and then he bumped it up. And I think that's what it was when they realized like just where Taylor was strength wise with squat and bench and look at his openers. They probably figured like okay, I really want to hit 900. I feel good for it today, but there's no guarantee I do it on the third because I'm not going to risk the win at that point. So I think that's why he just decided to go for it. So high risk, high reward objectively, but I felt confident that if he loaded, he was going to do it. Plus, just seeing his warm ups and stuff out like in the warm room, like, yeah, he's going to probably be fine. Um, and then as far as everybody else, everyone kind of landed about where I expect them to because or below where on a good day. I pretty much was like, okay, that's okay. I feel like Angelo will be between like 860, 870 if he executes. I feel like Delaney between like would be like, like 850, 860, give or take. Chris, 850, 860. Like this is kind of where I thought everyone like would approximately be, right? And then also like Chris had some issues like with his second and third squat, so that kind of shifted things there. And then Taylor just showed up objectively stronger than what I thought he was going to. Like I knew he was going to show stronger than what he did at that last meet he did because that last meet went well and he clearly had something left in the tank. But I mean, I put Taylor around maybe like thinking like, oh, he'll probably hit around like 860, right? Like on a really, really good day. And originally in my mind, I'm like, okay, just looking at where everyone's approximate top ends were at, in my mind, I'm like, okay, if Taylor gets top three, it'll be from him having a perfect day, maybe some other people missing or whatnot, right? I did not think he was just going to straight up outclass a bunch of people the way that he did. So, hats
It's an
off to him because
interesting
that was
one
that was
because
that was impressive.
like comparing the strategy you guys are talking about, like where you line up consistent training on the week four, I think he's a really weird one because I guess like the TSG programming is just like tons of volume, super sub max. And if you see like his heaviest lifts in training were 300 kilo squat, 330 pull. So like how
Yeah.
does he like just have this blind faith like squatting 300? I'm gonna load 317. like
Yeah.
15 kilos more than
Yeah.
he's ever squatted before.
I think a lot of that is stuff they kind of changed recently too, because I think with some of their old stuff, it'd be like kind of higher volume plus kind of relatively high intensity. But if you look at the breakdown they gave for Taylor, they did more like sub-max approach, push certain more accessories and stuff like that, which I actually like it. I'm like, okay, they kind of crafted up their approach a little bit. I think that's dope. But yeah, the timing of how they do things is definitely different. 'Cause I think they still take relatively heavy lifts, like 2 weeks out, 1 week out, and kind of set themselves up, then taper and go into it. But I mean, yeah, like even when I saw Taylor's openers, I was just like, oh, okay. Like that's interesting. Because even his openers, it's like, what's he? Is Taylor gonna like try to squat seven today? Like, what's going on? Like, this is a lot. But once we got through the squats and bench, that's when I was like, okay, yeah, he's in a good spot. So yeah, other than Taylor just showing up much, much stronger than I expected him to, everyone else kind of placed and land about where I thought they would. Oh, and Angelo. Angelo surprised me in the sense of his bench not going well. Like he squatted about what I thought he would. Deadlift, he obviously had to kind of like push it to try to like bump his placing, but he wouldn't have had to try to deadlift that much if his bench had gone well. And I know historically Angelo's bench hasn't been great, but this is the best it's ever been in a prep. And I knew that he was going to have to cut and stuff like that, but I did not think whatever cut he had to do would make his bench like. I was shocked when he missed his second. Like based off how his opener moved, I yeah, as a coach competitor, it's kind of like okay, cool, don't have to worry about him as much going into pools. But as a friend, I'm like, oh, that sucks because it's like
Yeah.
his bench looks so good in training. So that was surprising. But yeah, so besides Joe going for 900 on the second, Taylor showing up, being able to do 870 plus, and then Angelo's bench, everything kind of went about the way I expected it to for the 83s.
Well, and Chris
Yeah.
too, right? But I guess Chris was dealing with some stuff with that.
Yeah. Yeah, so basically Chris was dealing with a back injury after the Raleigh meet, and we spent a lot of time focusing on like rehabbing it. While doing that, we still kept his legs super strong. Like at one point we had this man belt squatting 3 times a week. And we were still getting his legs really, really strong. But we had about like 2 blocks to when his back was healthy to kind of get him reacclimated to like weight on his back again. And the first block of having that time was kind of like, it was okay. Then the block out, it went really well. Like he hit 290, everything was solid, everything was good. The biggest thing was like, okay, your strength, your top end strength is high. It actually seemed like he's at all-time strength across all three. It's more just a matter of like, okay, your back just has to be prepared for it. And based off his squat opener, it's like, oh yeah, we're good. Because our plan was like, okay, take 290 and then just see what we finish off with for the third from there. But I think two big things is um, one thing that I had to work on with Chris when we first started working together was his bracing. I don't know if you guys know this, but whenever Chris braces, like he kind of gets in position, he kind of braces, and it's kind of like as he's still inhaling, he kind of just starts going down already. And one thing we really had to work on with him going to the Raleigh, he was like, "Hey man, I need you to brace and let that settle. Like I need you to fully let it settle and then go down." I mean, we really built that habit up well, but I think between the injury and then not having as much time with that type of weight on his back, he kind of like went back to like his old way of going about it. So on the second attempt, you can see it like his legs seem fine, but the braces rush, he kind of comes up, he goes down, he comes up. You can see his back give almost immediately because he was kind of feeling it. It wasn't so much hurting, but he was feeling it again. I think that was making him more like rushing, like he was being like overly cautious with it. And then on the third one, he set it up a little bit better, but at that point, I think his back was just like too taxed from what happened on the second one, so he wasn't able to drive through from there. Still finished off strong. Bench came in and finished off with a PR match, looking like he had 2.5 left. Still PR at the deadlift, so it was nice to see that. Okay, even with having to rehab him and not having like all the time we wanted, that his strength was still at all time strength. It's just one of those things where we just have to like have time to build that confidence back up on the squad again. So
Yeah. Yeah, he did well though. I know like that's not like a good day for him, but his bench still showed up really well. I believe like I watched was it last nationals, his bench wasn't showing up as well, right? I think his
yeah, yeah,
yeah.
yeah, yeah. No, we definitely, and that's the best part. We definitely know what works for Chris at this point. Like, one, not only what gets him stronger, but also will keep him healthy as he's getting stronger. So I'm excited for that because before we kind of had, okay, this keeps you healthy, and then we had like, okay, this gets you strong, but then you get beat up. Now we've got a nice balance. So I think the next time he's on the platform, it's going to be good, and he's excited. I think the fact that he still did what he did on bench and that he still PR'd his deadlift had him kind of like, okay, if I can just keep things in groove. And the fact that the lift that went kind of bad was the lift that he was hurt on. We're like, okay, well, there's some type of expectation of there being risk with that too. So yeah.
Mhm. Yeah. And then the last thing I'd say about the 83s was Angelo's bench. I think surprised us all. I remember watching 165 as opener and it was air. And then it was like, okay, like the 10, like, I mean, it's a 10 kilo jump, but he's going to hit it. And then he probably will go 180, 182. But yeah, it didn't show up how like we expected it, but his squat was also it was good. Like it looked like he had even more, but I don't know, maybe in training if they take big benches after heavy squats or like if it's on a different day. I haven't paid too much attention. That could play a role in it
Yeah.
too, right?
Yeah, for
So
sure. I'm actually, you know what, that's a good point. I have to think about it and go back and look at some of his posts. I don't know how often he does like a really heavy bench after squatting. That is a very good point. Yeah.
because he squats like slow. I mean, it's good. It's efficient squat. Like he was like this big load on his back for longer than everyone else. He did move it well, but it's like it's 700, and that's a big PR. I think he was squatting like 302, 305 in meets normally, right? So that
Yeah.
could play a big role,
Yeah.
but I'm
Yeah.
sure they'll figure
Yeah.
it out. It's like the same thing, right? Like he's probably not that upset. He's obviously like annoyed at the situation, but he's like, my bench is going better than ever. I was never actually making progress in the gym. So I'm sure like it's kind of like with your situation or Chris's situation, it's like, okay, we know what has been working. We just got to put it all together on the day.
Yeah, I mean
But
he's probably still pissed. It's Angelo, so
Never happy.
yeah, he's probably pissed about it. I remember he literally put on his story where he's like, if anyone has any videos of my bench, please delete them.
oh yeah, delete
So
him.
like, yeah, so yeah, he's probably pissed. But I mean, I think he's definitely motivated. I think the fact that I mean, this was still, I think, what like the healthiest and strongest Angelo that we've seen. And I think we now know like Angelo healthy is a force. So I'm excited I mean, that's what's crazy about it, man. Like the 83 class has just evolved so much so quickly ever since Durance beat Russ and Bornstein hit the like the 865. I think it got everyone to wake up and realize like, okay, there's so much more that we can do in this class because it's been crazy.
Mhm.
One
Yeah.
thing, I looked at good lift for the nominations for Worlds this week, and after PA Nats, looking at the 83s, I was like, oh, this is kind of boring.
Yeah.
It's like Joe and then Taylor as a reserve, and then it's like 850, and then it's all like right around 8.
Yeah, it'll be interesting. I feel like if Ade can really just put everything together on the day, I think that makes it way more interesting.
Hmm.
As far as like Jurens, Ade, and Bornstein, obviously like Joe's got to be the favorite. Like the man just put up a 93
9.
Yeah.
total at freaking at 83. Like my money's on Joe for sure. But I think it can be interesting if Ade can kind of just put things together. Because especially because Ade has a pretty crazy deadlift as well. So
Hmm.
I'm looking forward to it. But yeah, I mean I think it's insane if you bet against Joe at this point. So
I think
Yeah.
people forget too, like Ade was pulling to beat Russ, and that was with like a big, like a missed squat, right? He missed like whatever 10 kilos on
exactly,
his squat.
exactly.
Oh,
And bro, that deadlift was fast.
yeah.
Like it
Yeah.
was so fast. Like I think it was almost so fast he just wasn't ready for it. And he lost balance. But if he can execute on his squat, right? Because on his top end, the squat's very strong. Obviously, his bench is behind Joe's, right? But if he can just come in execute on that subtotal, it does become a thing where it's just like how it was now. You still can't miss. Like even Joe, like in that battle, like could not miss. No one can miss. If you miss,
Mhm.
you're done. So,
Yeah. And
it'll
Luke
be
always
interesting.
jokes about this too, but I think it is actually a thing. Like Joe hasn't traveled internationally, and I think it seems like him and his coach are pretty smart, so they'll probably have everything kind of figured out, like going into it. But you still never know like how someone's gonna react, right? First time. But
Yeah, for sure, for sure. I think it'll be interesting. I think he'll do decently because I think. I mean, I gotta think about how long the flight and stuff like that. But yeah, I don't know. It's just one of those things where, like, I think travel impacts you if you don't prepare for it, if you don't know what to expect, right? I mean, for example, last year everyone was like, oh, this is Team Craft's first time coming to Worlds. Like, they're all gonna get tanked and blah blah blah. Ashton won, Bob won, Petrie got top three and had the winning pool in his hands. I'm like, we were fine. So I
yeah.
really do think it's just like it's knowing what to expect. If you think like, oh, it's not a big deal, it's just gonna be like another 2, 3 hour flight then yeah, you're kind of screwed. But um, obviously Joe and his coach, they're very smart, so I think they're gonna be okay. And I also don't think that they're going to. That's another thing too. Like he hit the 900 here, cool. That's another reason why I think he did, because I obviously don't think he's gonna try to go for that at Worlds unless he has to, because you want to save that for Sheffield. So the fact that he kind of gets to probably even go a little more conservative will probably help a lot too. How conservative he gets to go, we'll see. Because once again, Adi has that pool. Like you're gonna have to still ball out. But yeah.
Yeah, it's gonna be weird because Joe still has to put together like a big squat, big bench. Because what if Ade doesn't like bobble or fall back at the top with like
Yeah,
400 or
exactly.
Yeah.
380? Because he can rip it.
Ex
I remember that
exactly.
that 380 that you were talking about was unreal. Like I was watching it, my jaw just dropped because it was so quick. Like from
Yeah.
Ade, I think it was 380, but yeah, he just like fell back. But I was like, wow. So he's still a
Yeah.
threat.
Him and
I mean, that's the
Anna.
thing. I think Ade is capable of 900. Like that's the thing that people have to keep in mind. It's like, and that's what's crazy about it. Really, looking at it, like Joe obviously already did it. I think Taylor's capable of it with time. I think Sean's capable of it with time. I think Ade is capable of it with time. It's just gonna be a matter of them building to it more. Um, so yeah, it's just crazy because like 840, 850 was like the standard not even that long ago, and now it's like, oh, we're talking about 900 for 83s. All right.
Yeah, even like
Especially
the
with
93 battle at Nats, it's like one of the best 93 battles of all time. And then Keiko comes out on top with 919, but then Joe
yeah.
killed 900 like at the
Yeah.
weights below.
Yeah,
So
exactly,
it kind of like
exactly.
overshadows it almost, but
Yeah. I mean, I'm not gonna lie though, man. Like being there, like both all the battles were crazy, but bro, that 93 battle was different. That was to me crazier than the 83 battle. And I think part of it is because of Joe. I think if Joe's not there, then it becomes a little bit more like interesting. Like, because it's almost like Joe being so strong and doing so well, the battle is still cool. And what Taylor did was still cool. I mean, if you take Joe out of it, Taylor wins, right? But it's almost like I think part of what makes battles intense is how close everybody truly is. And that's the thing. Joe won by his second pull. Whereas for the 93s, it literally came down to that last deadlift. All of them were 8 for 9 up to that point, and it was crazy, man. But I also think it's also a bias because I was there and I was coaching and I got to coach in both and kind of experience both, and it was just like a different type of like, oh man. But yeah,
yeah. Like Joe was the clear favorite going into the 83 battle versus the 93s was like anyone could win. Like there was
yeah,
yeah.
yeah, exactly, exactly.
And
Plus, I
going
think,
into, oh my bad. Go you go
oh
ahead.
no, no, I was gonna say, plus, I think with the 83s going into deads, you could kind of see like where things were gonna land more or less overall. Whereas with 93s, like you truly did not know until the third deadlift.
Yeah. Yeah, we did a prediction show and I think our podiums actually I had to double check. We didn't really like go back. But I think our podiums for the 83 were on point because we did have Taylor like doing well. I don't know if we said like what he did like
I
870
think
something.
I think we thought he would hit 870 if he went 9 for 9 and come
Mm,
second. I
Yeah,
think is what we said.
I think
yeah.
all
yeah.
three of us picked Joe Taylor, and then I think I had Angelo in third or something. But
Yeah. So we were like I mean, obviously, because like we've done so many prediction shows, and it's like we could be so wrong, but this time we were actually quite
Yeah,
correct. But then for the
yeah.
93s, it was so hard because we were like, well, I think Kyle had Gavin, but it's like Gavin, if he had maybe loaded 5 kilos less on that third pull, he probably could have gotten it up, and then it like shakes it up differently because he was really strong too. It's so close and so hard to pick. I guess for you as the coach, who were you more worried about? Like, was it Keiko or Gavin? For Petrie.
Uh, I mean, obviously, you got to look at both, but I say who I was more worried about, I'd say Keiko, and the main reason being is that Gavin is somebody we're like, okay, his big lift that really keeps him in the conversation is his squat. So once I see what he squats, I kind of from there can know what Petrie needs to do on bench and pulls to kind of stay where he needs to stay. Right. Whereas with Keiko, where he just executes, and this was the strongest version of Keiko we had seen in training. Granted, we always see strong versions of Keiko in training. It doesn't necessarily transfer over to the platform in the same degree, right? But it was still a thing where it's like, okay, Keiko's deadlift is decent and it's good enough, and his bench is so big to where it's like I can't say where he's going to be for sure just after squats, right? Whereas with Gavin, it kind of like you can kind of like have an idea prediction of where things are at, and it's funny because Keiko, I think it was like 2 or 3 weeks before nationals, and I gave like a breakdown of picture of what I thought you were going to hit, and Keiko hit exactly like to the exact number what I said he was going to hit on squat and bench. I was like, I don't care if he's squatting 700 in training, he's probably heavier. He's going to cut. He always squats less on the platform. I said I'm capping him at 310, like at most. Like he'll hit 305 to 310. Bench, I'm like they're going to hit 252. It doesn't make sense to do more than that. I said I know how Joey kind of is with being really conservative on things. That's already a big record. It's already a big PR, and they're probably going to think that's all they need to kind of set themselves up. And then with the deadlift, I capped him at 355 and 50-50 that he would get it. So that's where they got him. Like his deadlift showed up a lot stronger than expected. I mean, I think it showed up stronger than Joey expected too, because Joey said like, yeah, dude, the only reason I loaded that was because of how strong Petrie's deadlifts were. I'm like, I have to load this, like otherwise so that, and then as far as Gavin, I didn't know exactly where he'd land on squat. I figured it'd be sub 350 though. And I figured he'd probably be like, my thought was like, okay, probably like 340, 345 is where I thought he'd be. And I think he did finish around to like 346 or something like that, right? I
Yeah.
think he ended up taking. Bench, I had him at 220. I know his best was 222 and a half. I'm like, if he squats around that 340 range, it doesn't make sense to go for more than 220. Like that extra two and a half is not worth it. Same thing for deadlift. And the deadlift, I had him at 350 is the most I thought he'd pull. Um, and based upon that, that was fine because Petrie, pretty much the game plan was like, okay, squat between 320 and 325, bench between 210 and 215, and then deadlifts pull as much as we need to up to 385 to secure the win. So even with setting up those predictions, if had they deadlift what I thought, I'm like, that's fine because Petrie can pull what he needs to. It just came down to the fact that Keiko ended up pulling more than I expected him to. Because exactly what I thought was going to happen with Gavin happened, where it's like, even though he got close, like he had to overreach on his third deadlift, and that kind of put him out of it. But then Keiko just pulled more than what I thought he would, with honestly looking like he had weight left in the tank too. So that forced us to have to bump up what Petrie had to pull for his third, which was still so crazy how close he got it. Honestly, that's part of what got me so hyped. It's like, dang, we didn't even hit our best squat or bench. Like we had like 2.5 under his best bench. I want to say like about like 5 under his best squat, I believe too. Because like, and that's the only thing that we would kind of regret is that we should have gone a little bit more on the third squat, and I thought he'd still be good for at least 320. But we were already taught on like, hey, I'm not gonna load more than what you think you're good for, because what matters is not missing a bench or a squat and like execute on the pull. But because he had that little stall in his second, even though I'm like, hey man, you've had that before and you've blown it up, I still thought he'd be good for 320. He just said like 5 to be safe, and based on the second move, it's like okay, that makes sense. So we did, and then he moved his third better than the second.
Yeah.
Bench was on the money though. The 212 I think was perfect in terms of how it moved. It's just dang, it's fun to think like, man, had we done 2.5, 5 kg more, then we could have had to pull like 2.5, 5 kg less on the deadlift. And I definitely think he had that just based on how close he got the 858. But yeah, I mean it was awesome. That was an awesome battle. And it's just kind of cool to be like, okay, so Keiko came in, went 9 for 9, and literally had to PR every lift. That's how good he had to be for that battle. And I thought it was awesome. So yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, Keiko showed up unreal, to be honest. Like we were having that discussion about his squat too. He squatted 7, but I don't remember what exactly we said, but I think Trevor was like he's definitely not squatting like near 7, like maybe like yeah, 310. I forget, Trevor, if you remember what you said, but like I think we knew his squat would take a dip, and then the bench looked unreal in training, and his pull did show up. Like we knew it would be around there. Like maybe if it was a great day, he could pull like 360 or 357, but it looked like he for sure had 360 plus, which was
Mm-hmm.
pretty cool to see because I think his deadlifts are usually really like hard for his third pull.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah.
that one,
Mm-hmm.
he didn't have too much resistance. But with the
Yeah.
Petrie thing as well, the squat, his second, that's what I was thinking. We weren't watching together, but I watched the second squat and I was like, like they probably shouldn't jump that much, but he did look pretty strong in the gym. And then he just fixed his like little issue and lit it up. So I think it
Yeah.
was like the right call, but it is unfortunate. Like when your second doesn't move good, so you're like, okay, and then you light up the third, and it's like, damn.
Yeah. Yeah, it's like a hindsight type of thing. So, and
Yeah,
that's the same thing too. Even when I look back, I'm like, oh, I wish we would have done this. It's like in the moment, if someone asks me, oh, do you regret any of the calls made? I'm like, I can't
no,
really say that I do because they're the right
yeah,
calls. Peter said the only thing he regrets is that he said I should have just asked you, what do you think I have, and let you do it instead of just telling you like 5. Because if he would have said, hey, load whatever you wanted, I would have loaded 320. Like just because
hmm
I know what that stall looks like, and I know how he fixes it as he gets adjusted to the weight. So that's the only thing is that, but I'm never gonna regret loading what my client thinks they have. Like if you're telling me, hey, I'm good for 5, then all right, that's what we're gonna do. Like because it just wouldn't be worth missing at all anyway when we know we've got the deadlift. So don't regret that. Bench, I think the calls were perfect based upon like how everything moved. And then deadlift, I mean, we just went for it, obviously. It was funny because at one point somebody asked us like, hey, were y'all paying attention to Dom and like where he was at and the fact that he could have maybe like pulled matched Petrie on it Pat matched Petrie's 902 and then potentially like had bumped into third. Like, did you even consider that when you like still went for the win? And I was like, of course we didn't consider it. I was like, yeah, we saw it, like we knew that was the case. I'm like, we don't care. Like we're not gonna yield and just pull for second. I'm like, that's insane. Like, no, we're definitely
Yeah.
going for it. It's like it would have been one thing if the number was just something so absurd. I'm like, okay, I know Petrie can't pull this, then that's different. But like with how everything was going and how his opener second moved, I was like, man, it's a little bit more than what we thought we are gonna have to pull, but I think he can do this. So we went for it.
Yeah. Yeah, it was real close. That was a crazy pull too, and he looked unreal on the day. Like his second, and I love how at the top every time he's like mean mugging the crowd. Like he was feeling it. He was
Man.
feeling good.
Yeah, yeah. Same thing. It's like I said, it's the strongest he's really felt coming in across all three. And that's the thing with Petrie, where it's like, okay, cool. We same thing. We know what works. We know what keeps him healthy. We've got the formula. We're just gonna keep building on it. If we just, get him more confident that squat, we get that bench stronger. It's unreal the total we can put up because you shave 2 to 3 kilos off that deadlift and he's got it already. So
Mhm.
yeah,
The one thing we were talking about in our like I guess our preview show was like we were wondering if you would use Jamar's squat to like put the record so high on the second because Jamar is that strong that like Gavin wouldn't end up having a chip. I forget how it played out. I know Jamar didn't have a good day, but did that
yeah.
happen? Like if Jamar hit, then Gavin wouldn't have been able to have a chip at all, right?
Yeah, no, it was definitely like part of it for sure, for
Yeah.
sure. I remember you talking. I remember you talking to Petrie about. I was like, bro, this works out great because obviously like we're not going to conflate their two goals, right? Like Jamar's meat is his meat and Petrie's is his meat, and we're gonna load what Jamar thinks is good for. We're gonna make the game plan best. But I was just looking, I was like, oh, this works out perfectly. Because I'm like, if this happens, like we tie up, we tie him up in terms of what he can do, right, or what he can select anyway.
Mhm.
Um, so yeah, I mean, granted, it's still one of those things where like with him getting his second, he still would have had that at least. It's just it kind of limits like how high up he can go at that point with getting a chip. Because yeah, had we done that, unless they feel good to beat the what we loaded, which was like the 351 or whatever, then yeah, you're only gonna have to go up to the next normal conversion. You won't have that chip anymore. So it was definitely
Yeah.
something to consider. And that was unfortunate with Jamar too, just because he's been dealing with a lot of life circumstance stuff, having a child and all that kind of stuff. But the way we got him to really like pop off and show up going into meet was so good. And he felt so good. He was moving unreal. Opener was smoked too. Like, so we're like, okay, yeah, our normal 20 kilo jump to second should be casual. The only thing is he just like got a little bit too excited, dived on a little bit too quick, and that's when he tweaked his back. Like his third was a lot better control wise, but he actually hurt his back
Mm.
on his second squat, and that's kind of what threw us off there. So that was unfortunate because we definitely wanted to walk away with that record, if nothing else. But it's part of the game. It happens. Things happen. But yeah.
Yeah. Well, that's similar to actually what happened to Trevor, like, because we just did our nationals and Trevor was gonna not like squat a record or anything, but he was building his total through a great squat. I think it was your opener, right? You went down and that's where you tweaked your back because you
Yeah.
were walking off and I was like, that looks sick because it moved well. And he's like, I'm dead. I was like, what? Like, what do I load? Like, I was helping him.
Yeah.
He's like, it's over. But I
Yeah.
know, like, you had to keep the number the same for Jamar because you guys had put it in and that's when he tweaked it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly, exactly. Because the open and then the opener moves so well to where we're like, oh, we'll still take this for the second to get the record and be kind of conservative. Because based off his opener, we could have probably even loaded more, but we're like, no, let's just go with this and set ourselves up and then see what's left for the third. But yeah, after the second, when he tweaked his back, it's like, okay, let's try again the third. And he did keep much better control that time around. But at that point, even though his legs were good, like just the pain, discomfort in his back, he couldn't fight through it. So yeah, just one of those things of, it happens on the day, things go down. But still came in, finished well on bench. Deadlifts were looking sharp too. I think the only thing that happened on that third pull was same thing. When he gets in a lockout, he feels the back flaring up, and it's just hard to fight against that. So yeah.
Mhm.
I was
Yeah.
wondering
No,
if he
it's
could come back. Do you remember? This might have been when he was 83, but like he was hitting a squat and it just looked weird. Like I think his belt was maybe one tighter than normal or looser than normal because he had cut, and then he tightened his belt and came out and smashed it. So I was
That's when
wondering
he
if like the
that
second was like
yeah.
the belt was weird or something.
Yeah, no, it was literally just him going down a little bit too quick, and then he you can see like he goes down, and like you can see him lose the position at the bottom, and that's when he like tweaked his back and doing that. But yeah, when he did that though, that was when he was the first 83 to squat 700. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Does he
yeah. That
cut a
was
lot too for 93 now?
what's up.
Does he cut a lot for 93 now? Like what does he walk around at?
No, 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 no. It's nowhere near as bad as like what it was like for 83.
Okay.
Yeah, no, the cut overall is pretty comfortable. That's not even like an issue at this point. It's more so just like all the life circumstances he's dealing with, like like when you have a child, when you're working through different jobs and doing all this different type of stuff to like make sure you're taking care of your family first and foremost. You just can't prioritize training to the same like degree. Like he still does everything, he still gets everything in, but it's like you're training at whatever random time of day, you're not getting as much sleep, all that kind of stuff. So all those things kind of play a role with everything.
Yeah. He looks huge. Like if you compare his legs are so jacked, like compared to everyone.
Nah, he's a horse, man. It's
Yeah.
ridiculous.
Yeah, he's massive. I remember I met him at the Arnold last year, and yeah, like we took a picture. I don't think my legs were out, but I was happy they weren't because I'm like, damn, my legs are like my thing, and then his are just out there, and I'm like, holy crap, this guy's a beast.
Yeah.
He's a monster.
We were talking about
His
it's funny
squat makes
too,
sense.
how like the 93 world record is 750 right now, I think. And it's like if Jamar just gets the opportunity to go to do international meet, he's just gonna blow it up.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, and that's the thing too. It's like, Jamar's the type of person where he's like, nope, this sucks. I'm not happy with it, but I'm gonna let it sting and then use that to drive me further. Because we know he's capable of it, man. I mean, at this point, like you've repped 800 pounds. Like it's just timing, keeping him healthy and just, showing up the way that he needs to, and he'll be good.
Yeah, that double with 800 was insane. I remember watching that, and I just like, wow, we got to work harder, man. Like this guy's doing that to 800. That was crazy. But I wanted to ask you because you've handled now at Sheffield, right? Did you have lifters go to the other Sheffields? I kind of forget just off the top of my head. You must have, right? Had lifters at the other
No,
meets, or
that
was
was
this
the
first?
no, that was the first one because because our first time going to Powerlifting America
Okay.
was, last year's Nationals, then we went to Worlds and then Sheffield.
Okay, yes, okay. That's where I was just mistaken. But now you've been to Sheffield, and do you want to tell us about how it is like just going there and experiencing it and then handling your lifters on that kind of stage? Because it's something that very few people can really speak about.
Yeah, for sure, man. I mean, first of all, before we even get to like the meet itself, just the way they kind of lay everything out is really really cool because so for me, like I said, went to Worlds in Lithuania and going there, you get to meet these different lifters, these different coaches. There's people who follow the sport where like, oh, maybe y'all follow each other, maybe they know who you are, something like that, but you never have met in person, right? And that alone is already a really cool experience because it's like, wow, these are people from a different country, different culture, different beliefs, all that type of stuff, but we're all united just from lifting weights, right? So it's cool because you get to spend a whole week with these people. Like we spent a lot of time with Team GB, Great Britain. We spent some time with like, some of your guys like from Canada. We spent a lot of time with the Australian team and stuff like that. And it's cool because in that short time period, just from being together all day, you actually form some really cool connections and friendships, and then you keep kind of talking after that, right? So I bring that up because going to Sheffield, one of the things I was so excited about was like, oh man, I get to see my friends again, like that you're only going to see like once to twice a year. And it's a really cool vibe, man. I mean, like imagine like, you're in this nice hotel, like, the SVD's paying for and covering, your meals are covered, stuff like that. But imagine like you're just in a lobby and like you've got like, oh, Matt Gary, Ashton, Gustav, Wasker, Jurens. Like you just have everybody, a meal like chilling, talking. Like we're all about to compete against each other, but we're just sitting down, vibing, laughing, having a good time. I think one of the coolest moments on one of the early nights was like at one point I'm talking to Matt Gary about Christianity. And then I'm talking to Gustav and Ashton about military and war history. And then I'm talking to Wasker about what it's like training and also being a dad. Like you're having all these different dynamics with different people in the same setting. So that's already cool. And you can just see how much like love and respect everybody has for each other, like the lifters, the coaches, because it's like you're really in a room with like this is the pinnacle, like the best of the best. These are all like world champions or world record holders, whatever. So that already makes it kind of cool because you're competing against each other, it kind of feels like hey, we're all in this together. We've all kind of earned our spot to be here as lifters, coaches, whatever. So that's cool. And then when they take us to see the venue before it's set up, so you kind of get to just see like what it looks like beforehand when it's empty, and you kind of get a feel for like, oh wow, this is like it's almost like okay, yeah, this is a pretty like big space, but it doesn't even feel like as big as what you think. It's like okay, this is a big space, lots of seats, but it doesn't feel all that overwhelming, right? But then, dude, when you're actually handling, like, and shout out to Matt Gary for this because he said, hey, Marcellus, I know how you get when you're handling. You're so focused on the numbers and your lifter. He said, but when you walk out on stage for Ashton's first attempt, he's like, please, brother, just take the time to just look out at the audience for like just 5, 10 seconds, just really take that all in. Dude, it is insane. like you don't really realize how big the space is until you're on the actual stage and you see all these people. Like you're walking out and you're hearing all these screams and yells, like screaming your lifter's name, getting him hyped up, and it's insane because it's like your heart's already pounding because of like, just everything that's happening, right? Like, and you're going up the elevator to get to the stage and stuff like that, and like getting ready to be on this huge stage. But then it's like, okay, your heart's pounding on the inside, but you have this wave of energy from the crowd coming against that. And it's like two forces just clashing into each other. And it's almost a thing where like I said, I looked and took it in for 5 seconds, and then I had to look away because it's almost becomes like overwhelming. It's just so much energy. You know what I mean? Um, and it's different because unlike even nationals or worlds where like of course you have like those are big stages, you have people there. The difference is with that, a lot of like it might be your family or your friends, or they don't really understand what's going on, but they're just there. Whereas this is a audience of like 2,000 plus people where they all love powerlifting. They're all lifters or coaches or whatever commentators. They're all there for that specifically. So the energy is just different. Like your body is vibrating when you're on that stage, right? So that like it's already electric and incredible in that sense. But then for me, like Ashton's third squat, that was like the energy was just different because like I talk crazy to Ashton before he squats because that's what he needs. Like that's what he likes. So I'm talking to him, I'm getting him hyped up, so like that. And you walk out on that stage, you just hear everybody like screaming for him and yelling for him. And then when he gets to kind of like the sticking point, then he just drives through, and you're screaming like, "Stand up, Ashton!" And you're hearing all these other people like saying like the same thing, and he gets it. It's just so wild. Like you feel like you could like run through every brick wall in the universe. It's just different, man, because it's different because you know the work it takes to get there because it's like, okay, you have to win your country's nationals, right? Which in the US, that's very difficult to do already as is. Then you have to go win worlds. And then you get to come to this. So it's like you're already proud of all the work and effort that goes into it. Because obviously, like on the outside looking in, people, we see like what the lifters are doing as far as the numbers. We see like the highlights of training on Instagram, but we don't see like all the stuff that goes on in the background, like day after day, especially for somebody like Ashton, where it's like, okay, has a pregnant wife, in the military, just finished getting his PhD, so all the school and stuff like that. Like I know all the stuff that Ashton has to go through. I know all the stuff that we have to adjust and work around just for him to get to that stage, right? So then when you have all that build up and then all that type of energy, it's just incredible. And like the lights, the energy, like they treat you like a superstar, basically. Like they really, really do in every aspect and regard. And it's awesome. And then after the fact, like even when the meet's done at the meet and greet, that's overwhelming, like emotionally overwhelming. Like it was funny, like when we got back to the hotel later that night, like my wife was like Michelle's like, you look like dead, like very tired. I'm like, because it's like it's so much, right? It's like you have this hype meet, and then you go to the meet and greet, and it's like just a room full of people, lines to meet like, the lifters and the coaches and stuff like that. And at this point, like not like in a cocky way, but like, I'm used to going to like, meets or whatever, nationals, whatever, and having people like come up to you. But it's just different when these are people from countries that I've not even heard of. And they're like, hey man, you got me into powerlifting, or hey man, I've learned so much from your content, or like seeing them come up to Ash like, man, you motivate me so much, bro. You just tore your pec 8 weeks ago and you're here. Like that's amazing. Like it's so cool because for me, it's emotional seeing like my lifter getting shown like this love and being able to see the impact that he really does have on the sport. Because I think he sometimes gets so caught up in just trying to be better that he doesn't take the time to appreciate like Ashton, you've been doing this for a long time and you've done things that no that some human beings will never even dream of doing. Like you deserve this. Like the fact that you're here, regardless of how the meet went because of the pack and stuff like that, the fact that you're here, you impact these people. And then to have so many people come up to you as a coach, like you would think like you just competed yourself when they're coming up, like thank you for the content, all that kind of stuff. It's very humbling, man. And it's like it's just cool to know that you can do something that you love and that you can provide a service with something you love, and it can lead to something like Sheffield. Like it's incredible. It's unreal. It's still unlike any experience that I've ever had as far as like handling and stuff like that. Like as far as like intensity of like just sessions and battles, like the 83 93 battle at this past nationals are definitely like peak. But as far as like just a meet, like the meet as a whole and the energy of the meet, Sheffield's unlike anything that I've ever been to. It's not even close. So yeah, it was cool.
Yeah, you portrayed that incredibly well.
Yeah.
Like I remember you told me the first time, but it was like I was like getting goosebumps, like the way that you portrayed it, like your heart pounding and then feeling the energy of the crowd like coming against it. Just seems like, yeah, like a once in a lifetime kind of experience. But I guess you'll be back there, right? Well, we'll see, I
Oh
guess.
yeah, we'll see. We'll see. Yeah, I think we will. I think we will. We'll see how things go. Because I have, I still have a couple people competing at Worlds for this year, and then Ashton, Bob, and Peach are all doing World Games. But we just got confirmed. We just found out recently that okay, which makes sense. It's World Games, but we didn't get confirmation until like a week or so ago that you can set world records and world record totals at World Games. That is a meet that they look at for potential Sheffield wildcard spots. So I told Ashton Petrie and Bob the other day, I was like, hey, y'all gotta ball out, man. Like we have the time to build into this. Like go out there, do your thing, ball out, maybe get a wild card spot. And it kind of is cool too because it's like for Petrie, he'll be able to have his rematch with Emil and Gustav at World Games. And then if he wins, and if he does get a Sheffield wildcard spot, he gets to have his rematch with Keiko at Sheffield, assuming Keiko wins World. So I think that's going to be lit. I'm very excited for Bob too, just in general, because it's like the fact that he chose to opt out of Sheffield and Nationals and Worlds just to build into this, like it, and it's going. And it's funny because people keep asking like, "Yo, is Bob okay? Is Bob hurt? He's not posting." I'll just say right now, as you guys know, Bob is great. Bob is doing very, very well. Training is going crazy right now. He's just not posting, but like, yeah, training's going super well for Bob. And then, like I said, the fact that Ashton, that we now have the time to just keep everything healthy, build, and go all the way into it. I'm very excited for them at World Games. I think it's gonna be crazy.
Yeah, that's gonna be an unreal experience too. I'd love to hear once you're done, like you've been there, like how that compares to kind of like Sheffield, because it's gonna be in China, it's gonna be with all those other sports going on at the same time. So that'll probably
Yeah,
be another like once in a lifetime kind of experience that'll be something that you'll remember forever. So that's gonna be very cool. I'd love to hear, maybe come back on after that and let us know. Like that'll be something to hear about for sure. One thing that we
yeah,
were thinking was with Bob actually, because I don't know exactly what Bob has said and put out there on like why he skipped like nationals and worlds, like that kind of thing. I've heard people talk about like his mindset and stuff, but like, are you able to kind of explain to like the listeners like what Bob's thinking?
yeah, for sure. Well, first of all, Bob and I were so shocked that everybody was so surprised because I guess Ryan just forgot because like on the King of the List, like him and Rondell were talking like, oh, we finally get to see you versus Bob at Nationals, and then they finally like, oh, he's not on the roster, like, whoa, blah, blah, blah. And it's like, bro, Bob, the last time Bob was on your podcast, he literally said, he's like, yeah, I'm not doing Sheffield. He said, and I probably won't do Nats either. Like he announced it. He
Mm,
talked about his YouTube channel. I talked about it before. But yeah, basically, long story short, for Bob, it's the fact of, okay, if he does Nationals and then goes to Worlds, right? That's going to automatically interfere with the potential performance at World Games. So for him to do that and for it to be worth it, one thing he was looking at was like, okay, what are they doing as far as like Rondell and like his suspension being up and whatnot? So we were kind of waiting on that because for Bob, even though it's like, oh yeah, you get to go to Worlds, get another world title. Like Bob already showed, like, hey, I beat all these guys already as a 105, like legitimately. So
mm,
for him, it's like because ever since Bob and I started together in like late 2020, early 2021, it's been back to back meet preps. It's like, okay, nationals, pro meet, nationals, shifting feds. So nationals again, worlds. Bob's never had the time to truly just build the way he wants to, especially now he's trying to like fill out like, the 120 class. He's trying to get to be around at least 110 by the time we're at World Games, which we're very close. We're like he's like walking around like 109, 110 right now. So for him, it was a thing where it's like, okay, other nationals will be there, other World Games and opportunities for, I mean, other like worlds and opportunities for Sheffields will be there. World Games comes once every 4 years. And it's like, if there's a need to like really build into it, it would be this one, right? And his biggest thing, besides like Bob's, this is the thing, Bob's biggest number one goal always for himself is I want to be the biggest, strongest version of myself possible. I think a lot of lifters, they almost get caught up in other people's expectations. They're like, oh, you have to do worlds, you have to do Sheffield, blah, blah, blah. Where Bob's like, I'm gonna do what I want to do, right? And then Luke, you know this for me as a coach, it's like I'm the same where I'm like, hey, I work for you. What are your goals? If you tell me you want to take a year off and build, I'm not gonna be like, oh, but bro, you're so strong. You don't have to do anything. I work for you. That's fine. Like I'll help you lay out your goals and give you the pros and cons, but ultimately, like it's up to you, right? So for Bob, it was this thing where like that's kind of what he was leaning towards doing, which is building the World Games. He was going to kind of wait and see what he wanted to do as far as nationals, but it just got to a point where we're like, okay, well, Rondell's suspension, they were going to have it be over after Rondell's nationals is done. So even if he did nationals, wins, and goes to worlds, he doesn't even need to go against Rondell, right? Which is like his in his mind his biggest competition. So it's kind of like, okay, I can do nationals, go to worlds, and then just kind of tack myself out for world games, which to him is kind of like a bigger deal and bigger meet if Rondell's not there. And we only found out that Rondell was doing our nationals after the fact, after the registration had already been closed, because they kind of announced it last minute. So he didn't know. So yeah, basically that's the thing for him. He just wants to be able to go in and not just PR the total, because we've done that pretty much every meet, but he wants to go in and show like, okay, the numbers that I did in training, I want to hit those or more on the platform. And he knows to do that, he just needs the time to really build. And like I said, at this point, we've refined a lot of stuff with some of the programming. He's walking around the heaviest he's ever been. And he just like, I mean, pretty much, man, I'll say this. We want to go in there and have like 1,000 kg be like the floor, basically. So he knows like, okay, how am I doing that if I'm doing nationals, then worlds, then world games? It's so much back to back instead of just having time to really build in and have that big super meet that he wants.
Mm. Yeah, yeah, that makes more sense because Worlds is like how far from World Games? It's quite close, right?
Worlds is June and then World Games is August. So
Okay.
yeah,
Yeah, so he wouldn't have
yeah,
time. He'd have like two blocks at most, and that's not
yeah.
enough to build the momentum.
Yeah, and
But
even less time if you think about nationals having just happened. So it's like Nats in April, Worlds in June, World Games in August. Whereas it's like, okay, just go in, go crazy at World Games, and let's say they don't. Let's say he doesn't get like a wild card spot from next Sheffield. Okay, that's fine. He can do the following nationals and then Worlds, and then based upon that, potentially do the second Sheffield. That's in November 2026. So yeah.
mhm. Yeah. Yeah, I guess that makes more sense like when you lay it out. It's just like because when Bob sometimes talks, like he's just so like he's like aggressive. Like I don't know how to describe it, but it's just like you're just like
New
what?
York,
Like
bro. New York.
yeah. Yeah. The way he says things is just so funny. Like I respect it and I like it, but it's just so funny. Like and then yeah, with Ryan, I think maybe what happened on the King of the List maybe confused me a little with like him and Rondell's situation, like him not
Mhm,
going. But I guess yeah, the
mhm.
deadline. Did him pulling out of that first Sheffield, like when he first told you, like that's what he wanted to do, that was that like kind of like a shock at first, or?
If it had been anybody else, it would have been, but because it was Bob, not really. Especially when he told me the reason why, I'm like, yeah, that tracks for you. That makes sense. So, so yeah, yeah, yeah. Because Bob, yeah, no, like it's one of those things where, like I said, Bob is Bob. He walks to the beat of his own drum, and yeah, if it had been like for example, if Ashton had told me like, oh, I don't think I want to do this, I would be like, what, really? Like, are you sure? And of course, even when Bob brought it up, I was like, okay, man, like, are you sure? Yeah, because that's the thing. I won't make someone do anything, but I'll be like, hey, I want to make sure that if you're not doing this goal, that it's truly for yourself for the right reason, that it makes sense, not out of like a sense of fear or any weirdness like that. So yeah, once he broke down his reason, I was like, oh, okay, well, yeah, that's fine, that's fair.
Mhm. Okay. And the reasoning was kind of like what you pointed out, like just like the whole gauntlet of having to do meet,
That,
meet,
that
meet.
that that's part of it. It was more so he really felt disrespected by SPD with the whole like poster thing. Like he was not with that at all, bro. And then the fact that I think it's also because they pay the way for the SPD athletes, but because he's not one, he would like paid his own way to go and stuff like that. And I think for Bob the big and this is the biggest thing. This is the biggest thing too, is that Bob knows like, okay, if I go in to Sheffield, the way that I best set myself up to win that would objectively be just doing it as a 105. He's like, but if I do that, that takes away from my long-term goal of trying to fill out 120. So that was the
Mhm.
biggest thing. Like, even though he felt disrespected, like with Shemslow, that his biggest thing was like, okay, do I do this and cut to 105 or do I commit to my long-term goal of filling out 120? So we decided to commit to that versus taking more months of having to stay lighter, be 105, and then trying to build up. So it all kind of ties into the same thing of like Bob's number one goal, always more than anything else, will be I want to be the biggest, strongest version of Bob as possible.
Yeah. Yeah, that definitely clarifies it too. And for him, like he has that 120, that's what he wants to do. And realistically, for Bob, compared to like say one of us, if we got the invite to Sheffield, it'd be like this may never come again. The odds are like Bob might be
Yeah.
able to make it back there, or likely will. So I guess that's
Yeah.
the other part of his mind. It's like I can probably get back there. Like it's not going to be an
Yeah.
issue.
And I think that's a big part of it. It's like for a lot of people, it's like, man, how could you get the opportunity? But Bob is confident, is like, I will do a nationals again. I will win. I will go to worlds again. I will have an opportunity. Like if he goes against Rondell and say he doesn't win, but he hits enough over like the total or whatever, like I think he just feels confident that he'll be able to secure a spot for it at some point. And if he
Yeah.
doesn't, then like he'll just have to accept it, like, hey, that was my choice. It is what it is. So
I find it's
Yeah.
crazy because in hindsight, like if he did, I know because he wants to bulk to 120, but if he did whatever, do like a minor gut cut, or even for worlds, like he traveled and he lost weight from traveling, I guess, right? So like if he just went in, weighed 105 and potentially put up like close to 1,000 kilos, like he could have won. He could have
yeah,
won.
that is that. Yeah, no, no. I think about
Yeah.
that the whole time. I was like, Bob, bro. And I think something too, like in his mind, he was like, oh, Ashton should be able to do such and such. But that was before Ashton's pec tear, and um, with different people cutting and doing this and that, I think just things turned out a little bit different than what he expected to. Because yeah, looking at it is like, oh yeah, he definitely could have won.
Yeah. And so even if SPD is like not covering the hotel, the whatever, but like you go in, you win 40K, like I think that covers it.
Well, I think the thing for him was he wasn't thinking that was going to go down. I think
Yeah.
like I mean because that's the thing you have to decide and confirm what you're doing by certain deadlines and everything as far as like Ashton tearing his pec and then like people announcing I'm going down weight classes and all that kind of stuff happened after the deadline had already like occurred. So
Yeah.
because yeah, I mean that's the thing I told him too. I said like, well, hey man, look, I said even if like aside from the money, it's like one, you're gonna win some money just from records regardless, and two, depending on how well you place, I said podium is very realistic. And I told him too, I said also like just there's the different aspects that can come with it as far as, like marketing, promotion, blah, blah, blah. So I said, so if you care about any of that, something to consider. And he's like, no, I don't care about none of that. I was like, all right, oh, fair enough. Good. Good enough for me.
Yeah. It's funny in hindsight about nationals too. Like I guess Rondell wasn't at his best because he just did those crazy heavy lifts in the gym. But if anything,
Mhm.
it builds the storyline even further. Because say they did go head to head this nationals, it wouldn't have been like the full power Bob or Rondell. That would
Exactly,
wait for like the
exactly,
full clash, So it'll be good.
exactly. And that's the thing. Like if Bob goes against Rondell and he loses, fine, but he at least wants to know that I was at my best possible self when I did this. I'm not gonna just rush and have the battle just because everybody wants to see the battle when I know I'm not where I want to be. So
Yeah, yeah, he's taking on like a big battle. I mean, Rondell's a freak, but Bob is too, and he just needs to have his years, honestly, just continue to get bigger and bigger. Because I like the way he does it. Like as he puts on weight, it's obviously hard to do, but it's like he only is putting on so much weight at such a slow pace because he's like, we need to do this with like the most lean muscle and not just be like, oh,
yeah,
I'm a 120 now, so I must be 115 plus, just
yeah,
forcing it.
no, we're steady pacing it so well, and it's crazy because his composition looks so similar to before, but now we like say he's like a true and not like just an inflated. We're like, oh, if I travel this way, but he's like an actual like 109, 110 right now, which is great. So yeah, like I said, it's going well. Training's going very, very well. So I'm excited for World Games.
Mhm.
Yeah, it's just that jump from 105 to 120 is so big. Like,
Hmm.
I think for him, like if that like that 110 class that was in the USAPL, like that probably would have been perfect. But
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, yeah, for sure.
How
Yeah.
tall is Bob? Because I've seen it's funny because like in his training videos, he looks like really tall because he's like a longer limbed guy. But I think I saw a photo of him with Blake and like Ashton or something, and he looked like maybe 5'10" or something. I don't know, 5'11".
Uh, yeah, maybe like I don't know, cause yeah, because Bob is pretty tall relatively. He's definitely taller than like he's taller than Ashton, and I think he's a little
He's
bit
like
taller
not
than
quite 6 foot,
Dimitri.
is he? Like he's maybe five.
Yeah, I don't think he's quite 6 foot. Yeah, I think maybe like 5'11" or so. Yeah, Bob, if you are
Yeah.
6 foot, my bad, bro. I don't know your exact height.
It's hard to tell. Like I've seen his videos online. I'd be like, yeah, he looks like he's 6 foot. Like he's a longer limbed guy. But then I saw a
Yeah,
photo of him. You never know until you see photos like reference with other people that you know. And like Blake,
yeah,
it's like a shorter guy too. And like Bob wasn't that much taller. I was like,
yeah, yeah.
Yeah. I think the pictures were doing him dirty because I remember that picture is beside Ashton and Blake, and Ashton's like a slightly bit taller than me, Blake's a bit shorter than me, and then Bob kind of looks like their height. But I've seen Bob in person, and I've seen him like next to a doorway, and I was like,
Yeah.
nah, he's not that short.
Yeah, well, the other thing too is like sometimes in pictures involved with short people, he'll kind of like almost like do
Slouch.
this, almost so yeah, 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 yeah. So I think he is, yeah, yeah. I think he might, maybe he is 6 foot. I don't know. I don't know. I'll ask him later. I'll
Yeah,
play
it
Bob,
looks
I'll play Bob, not training related. How tall are you, bro?
yeah. It is just
no
interesting.
lying,
He's like,
Bob.
as a 105, like he's obviously probably like one of the best 105s in history. Like if he were to just keep competing like at that weight, I know his goal is to be the biggest, strongest possible, like that Bob can be. But like now that we have like Anthony McNaughton too, like I think him and Bob would have been a really cool matchup to see because they were pretty close, right? But
Yeah, yeah. I think, and that's the thing too. It's like Bob's whole like what makes it fun for Bob is chasing feats of strength. Like I think like even though like if you've heard him talk about like oh what do you need for Go stats, he'll talk about like oh you gotta be battle tested, you gotta have like titles, you gotta have records, blah blah blah. But what makes powerlifting fun for Bob is chasing feats of strength, and it's like well if I want to say bench 600 one day or like squat whatever like I have to keep getting bigger. So that's what he cares about. That's what motivates him. That's what keeps him going. So
Yeah. No, it all makes sense. And I'm sure like once we have like a few years or a year goes by or even World Games comes around, people will be like, okay, like I get it.
yeah, yeah,
Like
yeah,
Bob shows up and does it. Yeah.
yeah. And that's what I told him too. I was like, hey, bro, you got to show up at World Games. Like all the meets we skipped out on for this. You gotta go crazy, brother.
Yeah.
But nah, I think he's going to. It's gonna be fun.
It is definitely
Yeah.
the need to do it. But like we were just talking about before, like obviously hopefully fingers crossed it goes well. But imagine like he has this crazy epic prep, like 2 years long, and then something happens on the day and be like, oh shit. Like
Yeah,
all this for this
yeah.
week. Like hopefully it goes well, obviously. But yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it'll be worth it if it goes well because like once again, this is our Olympics basically. It's once every 4 years. It's gonna be crazy and I think it's gonna go well. So
Yeah. I think based on the nominations too, like he's part of the super heavyweight group, I guess. And like it's based on GL, so he should be like
that's what I'm saying,
well
bro.
ahead. Like
I'm like, bro, you gotta smoke this. Cause I was thinking
yeah.
about it, I was like, okay, because it's the top three 120s from Worlds, and then the super heavies. It's like, okay, you're already lighter than the other 120s already. So I'm like, bro, if we lose on GLP to any of them or to a super heavyweight, that's crazy. That's the most
Yeah.
anti-craft thing I've ever heard in my life. Like,
Yeah.
no.
Who's nominated second in that group? Like, is it Jesus? Like, I don't know. Like, maybe if Jesus has a super meet, but it's hard
No,
to.
Jesus' best GL is like 114 or something.
Oh, is it? Okay.
Bob's gonna be like
20.
124.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's got to be one of the other 120s I would think in that group
Maybe the
who's
Etienne
close.
guy. He
Yeah, I
got
think
big
I think I
deadlift.
think I think yeah, maybe so. I have to go back and check. But yeah, if not Etienne, well, I'm trying to remember. What
And Tony
is
Cliff, I think, is the other 120.
Yeah, yeah. So it's probably Etienne and then but Jesus might be right behind that, right? Potentially.
Maybe his
Or am I
world's
tripping?
total wasn't huge, so I don't know what like what the
Yeah, yeah.
nominated
I was gonna say,
GL is,
I,
but
I was gonna say if he puts up like what he's actually capable of doing, I think that makes it like more interesting.
yeah,
Yeah.
he could probably beat all the other 120s, but I doubt he'll be close to Bob.
Oh yeah, no, no, no. Like I told Bob, if he loses that, that's unacceptable. That just doesn't make
Yeah,
sense. But as
yeah,
far as everybody else, though, yeah, 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 yeah,
yeah.
yeah. Yeah, I think Jesus can definitely beat the others even on good lift points if he just really balls out, has a good day. Which, if you think about it, is actually crazy impressive for like a super heavyweight. But yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, especially because he's like actually super heavy. It's not like he's just like a light 120 plus. Like he's
Yeah,
big.
No, yeah,
Like
he's
that's
yeah,
gonna
180.
yeah,
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 yeah, 180.
yeah. But yeah, that's the thing. It's like, all right, Bob, if you go out there and you out total the other 120s, but at 110, like there's zero reason you lose. So like,
No, yeah.
Yeah.
yeah, yeah,
I'm just
yeah.
looking at the nominations, and there's no one close. Like the guy in second is Teamer, back when Teamer was like a super big.
Yeah.
Mm,
So yeah, they're
okay.
all yeah.
Those days are over.
Yeah. It's Teamer and then Tony Cliff, and then yeah.
Okay,
So
okay.
Marcellus, I wanted to ask you because we have lots of listeners. Like the podcast is actually growing a good amount. We have lots of people who are newer to powerlifting, and they obviously like look up to people like you as a great coach, or like some of your lifters as great athletes. What do you think people can do to become a better lifter, just like mindset wise, or things they should be doing, or even how they communicate with their coach?
Mm, dang, loaded question. There's a lot there. Okay, so mindset wise, I think, and this is something that I think it all depends on what your background is, because that's what's so interesting about powerlifting. Like with every other sport, there's almost like a certain personality type. Like there's certain types of personalities that play basketball or football or soccer or MMA. But powerlifting is such a crazy mix because we've got just former gym bros who decided they wanted to powerlift. You've got former athletes. You've got people where it's the first thing they've ever done. But I would say in terms of mindset, it's understand this. You are not owed anything. You kind of get what you put into it. And understand that even when you put a lot of time and effort into it, the amount of progress you make, how much progress you're going to make, all that kind of stuff, it's always going to be relative to yourself. if you get caught up in comparing yourself to others in the sense of thinking you should be progressing as quickly as somebody else, you're probably going to shoot yourself in the foot. Now, let me be clear, that's not me saying to put on blinders and oh, it's just you versus you. I actually hate that mentality because I'm like, if it's just you versus you, bro, just lift in the gym. Why are you getting involved in a competitive endeavor? Like, I think you should find someone that's near your strength level and like push yourself against them, right? No matter where you're ranked or where you're stacked. But what I simply mean is understand that different people have different lifestyles, different people have different factors that can be in their favor against them. And some people are just genetically built better for the sport than what others may be. So you have to be at peace with that and be okay with that and learn to just love the process for what it is. If you don't love training, if you don't love powerlifting training, you are not going to do well at powerlifting. If you're just doing this for the glory moments of the PRs or the hype meets, those are so rare compared to the amount of just monotonous training days or just coming in doing the same thing over and over. So that's the first thing that I would say is like really just make sure you like training first, and that'll be huge. And find what way you enjoy training. Like I always tell people, what's optimal isn't always what's best on paper. It's what are you going to commit to and be consistent with, right? So find a way that you enjoy training. There's so many different ways to program. There's so many different ways to lay things out. Find a way that you enjoy and commit to that, and learn to just enjoy that first. And then that way, that will lead better into more consistent, productive training. So that's the first thing I'd say as far as mentality. Um, as far as coach, the first thing I'm going to say is just do your due diligence before you pick your coach, please. like just just don't, even with someone like me, it's like oh, Marcellus, he's popular, he's a big name, like he's probably a good coach. It's like no, do your due diligence. Go talk to some of that person's clients. Don't just talk to super strong clients. Talk to maybe some of their clients that aren't as well known or aren't as popular, and see like, hey, like does he take care of you? Does he respond to you? Like, do you get your blocks on time? Stuff like that. So that way you're just not going through a period of time wasting money. Because I've had some clients, man, where like they come to me and like they're good clients and stuff like that, and they have a lot of potential, but you can tell you have to almost pull them out of this mental burnout because they've been burned by so many bad coaches and their expectations have gotten so low to where even though they appreciate you doing things the right way, it's like their heart's not as in it as it was before. So help yourself avoid that type of burnout by like doing your due diligence before you even select a coach. And then when it comes to communication with a coach, just be very clear with your goals, your lifestyle, and kind of what your expectations are of your coach, but also make sure your coach understands like what he or she can expect from you. I think that's very, very important because it's look, if you're like, hey, I'm not trying to be top 10 in the world, I'm just trying to get stronger, get bigger, hit some PRs and have fun, that's fine. There's lots of coaches who will happily take you on and work with you, but they need to know that's where you're at. So that way their expectations can be the same. That way they're not going to trip if you like, go out and drink like a couple days before your primary day to the same degree because it's like okay, that's what he chooses to do. He knows that that might impact his training. He's okay with that. Like that open communication of where you're at is important. If your mentality shifts or your goals shift, make sure you're being very clear on that with your coach. That's important. um and just make sure there's a personality match because there's going to be some coaches where they don't want to work with people like that. There's going to be other coaches where they're totally fine with it. So just make sure there's a personality match and just be transparent. Don't try to present yourself as what you think the coach wants you to be to like get the spot. Just be honest with who you are and how you are and what you want and find a good match from there. So that's very, very important. And then man, like there's just so many things as far as like just if you're new to powerlifting, find community. I think that's huge for sure. Like, if it's at the gym you train at, or if you have like a group chat with some friends, please don't do anything egregious in that group chat. It will get leaked eventually. And like, I mean, if you want to go for it, it's entertainment for the rest of us. But this community is quick to get people canceled. But no, like really find a community, find some people that can encourage you. So that way when you're going through stuff or when you're having those days where you don't feel like training, you can have people that can talk to you, motivate you, and push you. I think that's so huge. I think it's actually one of the coolest parts about powerlifting is the community aspect, which is so funny for something that's an individual sport. But I think that's something that'll help you like keep it going and really like enjoy the process a lot more versus just kind of like keeping yourself and doing things by yourself. And then I would say also like, try to compete twice a year if you're able to. I think that there's something to, the skill component of doing it, but also just like it kind of keeps you motivated. For some people, it can be hard if you're going long periods of time without working towards something. Like I tell my clients, hey, we're always prepping, even what we're doing in the off season is to build towards the next meet. But if you don't know when that next meet is, it can make you maybe a little bit passive with things. So I think competing, at least twice a year is, if you can, is good. If not once. So I think that's really huge. And then just always, man, just always be open to learning more. Like that's the big thing. Like know your personality type. Like if you're a lifter where you're also like maybe you want to coach one day, like know how to separate the two. Like always make sure you're learning more and stuff like that as a better coach. But if you have a coach, let your coach be the coach, be the lifter. It doesn't make sense to pay someone all this money to coach you if you're questioning every single thing they tell you to do or always wanting to make changes. Like trust the process and let your coach do his thing. If you've given them that time, that due process to do things the right way, and you're just not getting anywhere, then that's different. Maybe look to getting a different coach, but like, just give your coach time to do that. Um, and then just find ways to set goals for yourself outside of just hitting one rep maxes on the big three. Like set some goals for your accessories, set some rep goals. Because guess what? You're probably not going to always constantly be hitting one rep maxes. And I know like we're living in a time where we're seeing people PR just block after, and that might be funny because like I said, I am a coach where oftentimes you'll see my clients PRing block after block after block, stuff like that. But you don't always see what it takes to build up to get to that type of momentum. And the other thing too is like it's cool when that can happen, but realistically, if it's not happening, it doesn't mean you're not getting stronger. Sometimes it just takes time to build things up before you're at the point where you're seeing that stuff pop off the way you want. But once again, you got to be content with just the process of training and enjoy powerlifting for what it is. Um, so yeah, like there's lots that can be said about like the mentality and coaching and stuff like that. But yeah. Oh, and then also this, man, just like I'm trying to think of a nice way to say this, I guess. Okay, here we go. You have no right to complain about your coach or your lack of progress or any of that if you're not doing every single thing that's within your control as a lifter. I know certain things aren't within our control, and that's fine, but it's like if you know you could be sleeping 7 to 8 hours a night and you're only sleeping 4 to 5, that's on you. If you know you're supposed to be eating 3,000 calories a day and you're eating 2,800, that's on you. If you know you're supposed to be pushing your sets to a certain degree and you're not doing it, that's on you. Like, there's nothing that annoys me more than people that whine about crap that they have control over, right? Like, and also like it should not be a thing where your coach seemingly cares about your progress more than you do. If your coach is having to track you down, like, hey man, where's your videos? Why isn't your sheet filled out? That's unacceptable. Like you are paying for this. Like you're paying so much money for this. You're paying for a gym membership, you're paying for equipment, you're paying for travel, you're paying for a coach, like to not do these basic things that you care about. Um, so yeah, I think that's a big thing too. I always tell lifters before you blame anyone else or blame circumstances, like just evaluate, am I doing everything within my control to be better? If you are doing that, then you can kind of start to look at other outside factors maybe that are playing a role with things. But always focus on controlling what you can control first. Because this sport is not very forgiving to those who cannot be on top of their own variables. It's just not.
Yeah. Wow. You put that together really well because you're like pretty kind and give good like advice. And then you're like, okay, the reality is at the end of the day, if you're not doing everything, then you have no right to complain, which is super true. And I think you touched on a lot of things that people need to hear. Like for us, like we're our kind of community. And then I guess even like the podcast that you can listen to and just be informed on like what's going on and watching meets and having friends. And then it's like with your own lifting, you have to have your expectation. Like I'm not gonna just I might not be the best right away or ever, but I'm gonna put in the work. And that's the thing that a lot of people don't do is like outside of the gym, they're not as serious as like their goals or what they say their goals are.
Yeah, and you got to give yourself time, man. I can't tell you the amount of people, and I get it because we're seeing people like Bornstein and Agata, right? These young lifters that are doing these crazy things. But we have to remember, even though they're young, they've been lifting for a while, right? Especially Joe, right? Because I don't know, I just think it's crazy when you get someone that maybe they have potential. They've been doing this maybe like 2, 3 years, and they're not hitting certain numbers. Like, man, maybe this sport just isn't really for me. Dog, like find me a single like NBA basketball player who hasn't been playing since they were a child, right? You didn't just start playing basketball for 2, 3 years and get in the NBA. You didn't start playing like, American football for 2, 3 years then get in the NFL. It's like these are people that dedicated years of their life to get to this level. And you think you deserve to get to the top of the sport because you spent 2 years doing it. Like it's so absurd, man. And these aren't even people necessarily where it's like they've been lifting for years and then started powerlifting. You have a little bit more of an argument there, but when you've like, oh, I've only been powerlifting for 2 years. Oh, how long were you living before that? Oh, I started living when I started powerlifting. Bro, what are you talking about? Like you got to give me at least, and this is a minimum, at least 5 years before you can start saying what you think your top end potential might be. Like you just don't know. Like you got to put more time into it. And that's really with almost anything. But once again, instant gratification. Like I said, this is not a sport that's for people that are trying to like get everything as quickly as possible because it's just not going to happen. Even when you have spurts where you're just blowing up very quickly, that's not going to continue on that way forever. It's just not going to.
Hmm. Yeah, if it works like that, then the totals that we're talking about now, even
Yeah,
though they're so
bro.
impressive, they'd be
Yeah,
nothing.
exactly. And there's a and time isn't equal in the sense of like two people can both spend 5 years doing this, but the type of work you were doing in that 5 years matters just subjectively.
Yeah, yeah, 100%. There's a lot of people just kind of spinning their wheels, like, or like if you spent your 5 years and you're not like even trying outside of the gym, or even in the gym, like you do your top set, you're excited, and then your accessories, you or back offs even. I've heard people like actually ask me, like, do you ever like skip back offs? Like just like people at the gym, and I'm like, no.
That type
What?
of that type of question already lets me know like what type of like lifter you are. Like that's like just quit, bro. Like go body. Just go bodybuild. Like what are you doing?
There's
Like that's
some
so
people
absurd.
I'm amazed at though. Like you'll hear really high level lifters that train like that, and to me that just is crazy. But like I think that's just the genetic thing. It's like they can get away with it. That
Yes.
doesn't mean that you can.
Yes.
Yeah, yeah,
Exactly. And I tell people too, I'm like, sometimes people are great in spite of what they're doing, not because of what they're doing. But then you have to ask, okay, if they're at the top, if they're doing that well while doing all that wrong, imagine if they were doing everything right. How much further ahead? You know what I'm saying? So like,
Hmm.
there's no world where it's better to be like, oh yeah, I could be doing this. I could be doing more. I could be more on top of it, but I'm just not going to. Like, it just doesn't make
yeah.
sense like, at
I
all.
think some people think too, like that by just training, like say you're 2 years in, and by just training for another year, you're guaranteed to get that PR total. But that's not true. Like just training, and like even if you're eating and sleeping, like you have to have intent behind like every single thing that you do. Like you're not just like,
Yes.
oh, this PR, especially as we get deeper into it. So like me, Trevor, Luke, now we're getting to the point where we're more advanced. Like you need to do everything right. Like every workout needs to have intent behind it. Like you need to be tracking your food, your sleep. So you're not really
Yeah.
anything just by doing like spinning your wheels doing the training. You're not necessarily guaranteed anything.
Well, it's because people, for whatever reason, it's almost like they separate powerlifting from just normal general strength training. But we already know the longer you train, the more muscle you put on, the stronger you get, the harder it is to make progress because your body gets more resilient, like progressive overload, creating adaptations. Like it gets more difficult to do that. So you have to be more on top of things. And that's what's funny. People are like, man, before I was in college and staying up late and I was still making all this progress. Yeah, you were a beginner, bro. Like you were gonna get strong just from walking into the gym, basically. But you
Yeah.
can't do that when you've got like years of muscle mass on you, stuff like that. You have to like find ways to push hard and do more things. And sometimes it's like it's not that what you're doing isn't working to get you stronger. Maybe you're building up your potential, but you still have to fine tune those small programming things to get the top end to show up the way you want when you want. Like, and there's a lot of work that goes into it. And that's why I tell people like, a good it's a good coach is very underrated, right? I think there's still some people who are like, oh, you can make progress on your own. Like, dude, if you get a good coach, like they really knows what they're doing, that's very underrated. But guess what? That good coach is still another tool and resource for you that can only do so much if you're not taking care of your variables. But I shouldn't be
Hmm.
surprised. This is the same community that freaks out when they find out their stiff leads are being taken away. So whatever.
Oh God, that whole mess. Yeah, we
Yeah.
made an episode about it. We don't have to go into it again. I'm sure like that's all you've been hearing, right? Like
Yeah.
you just
Yeah, I mean, there's nuance to it. I talked about it on my Instagram. I just recorded a YouTube video where I talked about it for like a few minutes of that video briefly. I mean, I'll give my quick take on it here, because there is nuance to it. I definitely think the people who are, I mean, granted, I think a lot of people are definitely whining and blowing out of proportion, but I definitely think the people who are making it seem like, oh, you're all just babies, like just adapt. I do think they're missing some of the points for sure, because there is nuance to it. Like, first of all, to me, it's unacceptable for the IPF to go back on an agreement that was supposed to be set through 2026 and just randomly being like, oh, hey, we changed our mind. Especially like, let's say, like, even if it is due to the fact that, oh, hey, the neoprene and all that, it's not to the correct standard. Okay, that's fine, but that's on you guys. You should have done your due diligence to do that proper testing long before you agreed to take these companies' money and get them on that approved list because it takes a lot of money to get on the approved list. And then because they're on the approved list, they have a certain amount of stock that they've created of these products that they thought they were going to be able to sell to people in this federation. And now you're telling them that they can't. And apparently you didn't send out any emails to these companies first. Like this is the first they heard of it. They found out when we found out, right? So I think that's absolutely unacceptable. But also, it's not like this is the first, the last time the IPF has done something crazy as far as a rule. I think that's what's getting me. I'm like, bro, as far as rules go, this is so much like this is way less damaging than like Article 14 or elbow depth and stuff like that. And people almost to me like reacting to it like it's on the same level. It's just not. So I do think that's unacceptable. I do think it sucks for the companies. And I definitely get it from the financial perspective as an individual where it's like, dang, I spend money on these sleeves now. I don't get to use them in this Fed. I get it. That sucks. I mean, like if I showed you guys, I have a whole wall of knee sleeves right here from when I did that long, like that huge like knee sleeve review video comparing everything. So I get it. But I'm like, we're all kind of in the same boat with that. We've all had to spend money on it. And guess what? Basically, anyone that's in the IPF that's using stiff sleeves, like myself included, if you want to stay in the IPF umbrella, guess what? You have to stop using it. So we all, by that standard, wasted money. Now, one counter that people keep trying to give me, and I'm sorry, this is going to be harsh. Like, this is going to make maybe people think some type of way about me. But one thing people say, like, yeah, man, but that $100 plus on these sleeves might have hurt someone's walk pod a little bit more than it hurt yours and stuff like that. Like, some people live in check to check. Dog, I'm sorry. This is powerlifting. This is a luxury sport. You do not have to do this. If you're living check to check and you're in this position like, man, if I buy these knee sleeves, it's cutting it close. You're a moron. Why would you do that? Why would you buy the knee sleeves at that point? Like when I started powerlifting, it was in 2015. I was in college. I was working 4 jobs so I could pay rent, avoid student loans, all that. My first powerlifting meet, my singlet, my knee sleeves, my wrist wraps, I was in heels at the time, my squat shoes, everything was my boy Eddie's. I did not have anything of my own because I knew, yo, I can't afford to buy this right now. So I'm sorry, but if this news in the knee sleeves got you in this position, like, oh, I can't afford to pay rent now. I wasted my money on these knee sleeves. Bro, you just need to get better with your financial decisions. You cannot blame IPF or SBD or anybody for your poor financial decisions. That's insane to me. Like, as someone that's been in that position, we're like, yo, I'm really kind of struggling trying to make it. Like, you don't. That's insane. Like you shouldn't. Why are you powerlifting? Those 3 hours you're in the gym, bro. You could be working overtime. You know what I'm saying? Like I'm not even joking at this point. I know that sounds harsh, but like that's crazy to me if you're actually in that scenario. So I think it's kind of a weird argument. And then as far as everybody like blaming SBD and saying, oh, they're monopolizing this and that, it's like you can still use all these other brands. You just can't use the stiff sleeves. And if the argument is like, yeah, but the only good soft sleeve is SBD, that's not SVD's fault. Like the other brands can step up. So there's a lot of nuance to those points, but I think the main thing for me, and Luke's knows this because I made this story addressing all my clients, is that if your complaint isn't even financial, if your complaint isn't even, oh, I think the Fed is corrupt, if your complaints are like, oh, my squat's so cooked, bro, that is so soft. That is so weak. It's like, bro, what you were squatting fine before stiff sleeves came out. So what? You're so reliant on them now. They're like now they're gone. It's like, oh, I don't know, man. Like, what am I gonna do? My knees, my squats. Like, bro, what do you mean we're gonna go leg press some more? Go belt squat some more. You're gonna be fine. Like it's and mind you, I use stiff sleeves. I use this. I'm already back in the SBDs. I'm like, yeah, I got to get used to this again. But it's like, come on, man. Like, if your squat you think is so cooked just because of that, then your programming is garbage and your mentality is garbage. I'm sorry. That's it. That's it. Like we all have to adapt. We all have to get used to it. Or we can just go to a different Fed if you care that much. I don't care that much, so I'm gonna switch Feds over it. But yeah, I think it's something where I know it's gonna get traction. I love the memes, but I just think people's negative reactions to things are so overblown sometimes. Not in the sense that we can't be allowed to be upset about something, but I'm like, can we be upset about something and not have to have 30 stories about it? Like, especially when it's not going to fix anything. It's not going to change. Like, do we think the
Yeah.
IPF is going to see this and be like, man, you know what? The community seems really upset. Maybe we should reconsider. If that were the case, we wouldn't have Article 14 or the elbow depth rule. And I care about those two things way more than the knee sleeve thing. So, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. No, you're completely right. I don't think it's going to affect people's squats like they think.
No.
I also use stiff sleeves and then just switching, it will feel weird for maybe like 4 weeks, a block, maybe two. But then you'll just be that's how squatting feels again, you know? Like it's just like
Yeah.
getting a new cue. Like you just got to adapt to it and you'll be okay.
Yeah.
But
Also, I'm like, dude, all the top squatters squat in SBD sleeves anyway.
yeah.
Jamar, Action, like they all like, they all squat in those anyway. So I'm like,
Yeah.
why are we sitting here acting like oh everyone's numbers are just gonna drop and stuff like that? I'm like, no, I don't think so. I think we'll be okay.
Yeah, like Jamar just doubled 800 at 93.
That's what
It's
I'm
like
saying,
in
bro.
he's
Bro, sometimes
okay.
Jamal, sometimes he won't even use the powerlifting knee sleeves. He'll use like those
Oh
really thin,
yeah.
like yeah. So I'm just like, I
Yeah.
come on, man, come on. I think we're gonna be all right. I think we'll get through it. Like I said, I totally get people being upset. It's valid. The concerns are valid. IPF 100% dropped the ball, like just changing their minds like last minute. Like that does need to be addressed. But that's not what I'm seeing most people complain about. I'm just seeing them complain about the fact that like I really want to use these sleeves and now I can't. I'm just like, all right, I get it. I got it the 100th time that somebody said it, but whatever.
Yeah.
One thing I don't get, like people talk about the monopoly thing, and do they actually genuinely think that if SBD wanted to, they couldn't make like the same sleeves?
That's what I'm saying. Like I
It
don't know.
doesn't
It
make
does
any sense.
it doesn't make sense. I know that post came out or whatever that apparently SPD is the ones where they came and they tested the knee sleeves themselves and realized like, oh hey, these aren't actually like based upon the IPS rules like approved or whatever. And let's say that happened. I still can't get that mad because I'm like, as a business that's competing with these other businesses, if you know that like, okay, these are the rules of what's allowed and the IPF overlooked this isn't allowed, of course they went and reported it because
Yeah.
it's like, hey, you're letting our competitors use something that violates your rules. Really, if anything, we should be more upset with the IPF because they should have been on top of that in the first place. So even if SPD did that, I can't get mad about it because guess what? Even then, guess what the IPF could have done? They could be like, oh, we know we're just going to change the rules to where this is allowed, and they chose not to. So I think that's my big thing too. You can have whatever gripes you want with SPD as a company and accuse them of whatever you want, whether you have evidence for it or not. I guess you can still say whatever you want as your opinion, but I don't like blaming SPD for what is clearly an IPF issue.
Mhm.
That's my thing. That's my thing. Like I said, if we get some undeniable evidence that like, oh, SPD paid them this much to make them make this rule, then cool. Hey, I'll be right there with you. Like, hey, that's messed up. That's unethical. But if it's just like, hey, SPD tested these sleeves on their own and realized like, hey, actually, and this is just what sounds like what happened. But hey, actually, these don't meet the requirements that you guys said, and they bring that to IPF's attention. Well, what's wrong with bringing to the attention that, hey, these are actually violating your rules in this Fed? You can't really be that upset about that. I mean, you can,
No,
but I mean, it's kind of
You
dumb.
shouldn't be.
it's
Yeah.
pretty dumb.
Yeah.
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 Well, it's like if you reported someone who you're competing against that's using PEDs and you're like, well, this
Yeah,
guy.
yeah.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, well, nobody knew he was using PEDs until you said something, but it's against the rules.
Yeah.
So you want to be
Yeah.
well, nobody had an issue with these sleeves until SB said something, but they're against the rules based off IPS rules. Now, in that case, you can either change the rules of what the material is allowed to be, or yeah, you can't. You got to say, okay, we can't use them anymore. Granted, I still think they should have said, hey, as of whatever the dude in the end deadline was in 2026, then you can't use them. I think the fact that they're doing it this year, that's wrong. Like there's no argument about
Yeah.
that. You're breaking an agreement you already had. But once again, that's not what most people are complaining about.
Yeah.
So
No.
I also
No.
wonder what the legal contracts do say with IPF, because if not, like I feel like all these companies will for sure come after them. But there must be
yeah,
some kind of thing where they said like, well, what was the initial testing too in the beginning? Like, how did the IPF test these sleeves and now SPD test them, but they find something different? Like that's what's
well,
also
I'm
like,
well, that's why I'm wondering if they even did. Like, I think because I think when the Inzer pros first came out, I don't think there was like, I can't. I think the IPF almost wasn't going to approve it, but then I think Inzer themselves, or I can't remember, somebody did the testing, right? And it's like, okay, these are fine. But then I think with all these other companies, and then when Inzer kind of changed their material, I think when all the other ones came out, I don't know if IPF did their due diligence with the testing the way they were supposed to or not. That's the thing. I don't know. And that's why I'm not saying for sure. But the thing is, it's not our job to know. It's IP. Like that's my whole thing. I'm like, why are y'all mad at SPD for IPF dropping the ball with what they're supposed to do? That doesn't make sense to me.
Mhm. Well, one thing I'll say before we move on, then we can wrap up the pod, but is with the Hansu sleeves, because those are the ones that I use, like I'm sponsored by them. So they had the 1.0 and then the 2.0. So the 1.0 is what I currently use or did
mhm.
use. Now I'm done with them. But I use those and they were supposed to be banned come October or November of like 2025. So like that was like set because those ones didn't meet the standard, right? But that was set
Mm,
like 8 months ago. They let us know. So I was gonna lift in them, and then after this meet I do, then I'll use the new Hansu sleeve, right? That was the plan because it won't affect me until after. But then the all the sleeves get banned, but I'm pretty sure that the 2.0 that Hansu is making did get approved. So after this one
mhm.
was expired, the new one would be good. And then all of a
Yeah.
sudden, all knee sleeves are bad. So that's like the one weird point. Like, because when you bring that
Yeah.
into consideration, it's kind of strange. I don't
Yeah.
know what it
I mean,
is,
no
but
matter no matter what, it's weird. It's like it's weird that all these sleeves that you approved, which then to me would imply that you did test, suddenly aren't passing the test or aren't good. So that's the part
Mhm.
that's weird. And that's why, and I think that's where people are coming from, where why they're saying like, oh well maybe SPD has something to do with it, whatever. But I'm just like, It's okay to think that, but y'all can't preach it as gospel if you don't have confirmed facts of it. And regardless, I still blame IPF first because it's their due diligence, it's their job to do this stuff. So yeah. But yeah, I mean, I'm already back in the SPDs. Started using them yesterday. It's like it's fine. It's fine. Squat feels fine.
Yeah. I wanted to ask you because the reason I personally hired you was the level of professionalism that you bring to your coaching. You're like very on it. You talked about it a little bit throughout this podcast. Like your coach shouldn't care more than you do. And like you have like these standards that you hold yourself to. And that's like partly, of course, other reasons like how hard you work, but why your business has grown so much and why you're so successful. Obviously, being smart and all those other things. But what do you think for like coaches that are trying to get into it, or even coaches that are somewhat established that can't break through? Do you think they're doing wrong? And like not to be like harsh on them, but things that people could definitely improve upon that like you're like, that's not something I would allow myself to do, like stoop to that level. Like I have these standards.
Mm,
If that makes
okay.
sense.
Got you. Got you. Yeah, because there's different things. Like there's some coaches, like like my client Sam Frederick, for example, where it's like, hey, you're a good coach. You've been getting mentored by me. You're doing what you need to do right on the business and ethical standpoint. But with him, it's simple matter of like, hey, bro, you got to market yourself though. Like you got to show what your clients are doing. You got to eat. Like not everyone's meant to make content. That's fine. But if you don't put out content, at least show what your clients are doing. Or hey, maybe if you can try making content, because it's like you can be the best coach in the world, but nobody knows who you are. Then what are you gonna do, right? So sometimes it's as simple as that. It's like don't be afraid to put yourself out there. I think sometimes coaches are like, oh, well, this topic's been covered before already. It's like, yeah, but you've never covered it in your own words, using your own examples, and you could be the first time that somebody sees it, right? So I think
Mhm.
that's one of the simplest things, just learning how to market yourself, and that can look different for different people. For me, a lot of that was on YouTube, and of course now I have Profit Now, but I was YouTube. For someone else, it might be Instagram. For you, it might just be like local networking at different gyms in your area. So I'll cover like that's like the basic stuff first, right? That just everyone should try to get more comfortable with. But as far as answering your question about just things where it's like, hey, this shouldn't even be an option, I always tell people, I'm like, it doesn't matter if you're doing this part time with 5 clients or if you're doing this full time with 30 plus clients. If this is a job where you're taking money from people to do it, you need to treat it as a professional service. With the normal 9 to 5, there's certain standards and expectations that the job or the boss has for you, right? And if you don't meet those standards, you get fired. I think the problem is a lot of coaches don't take that same mentality with their coaching because you're your own boss, you control your own stuff. Some of these coaches are starting really young where maybe they didn't have a normal or regular job beforehand, so they don't really have structure. But that's the biggest thing. I think a lot of coaches, even coaches that are good at the coaching part, like the knowledge of programming, they're not good at business. They don't have a good business structure.
Yeah.
So simple things like, okay, you need to have a system of organization. You need to know like how many clients you're working with at any given time. You know how what block they're on, what week of the block they're on. If you have check-ins assigned with them, you need to know what time that check-in is and make sure you're not late for that. And if something comes up, give them notice to know. Whatever your agreed upon communication is every 24 hours, 40 hours, whatever, you need to make sure that you are on top of that. And it's not an option. It's not oh, maybe I'll get back to my client in 24 hours. So if you say you're getting back in 24 hours or you have office hours, you need to get back during that time. Because guess what? In your 9 to 5, you don't get to say like, oh, maybe I'll get this filing work done. No, you're going to get it done or you're going to get fired, right? So it's the
Yeah.
same thing with that. There's no reason that like, I don't care. There's no reason that you should ever be late on a client's block. That just doesn't make sense. That's such a big part of what they're paying for. There's no reason, barring a crazy emergency, maybe in the hospital or something like that, that you shouldn't be getting back to your clients in the agreed upon time because you're the one that sets the time. Like you're the one that says, hey, this is what my communication looks like. And the client can agree to it or not, right? So to me, a client not getting like, not getting to your clients on time, that's completely unacceptable. Um, Doing simple things like cookie cutter stuff where you're giving everybody the same programming, that's unacceptable. Like it's just very, very lazy. And the opposite extreme where like, okay, I just need everyone's stuff to look different. So you're giving people random stuff just so it looks different. That's also unacceptable. Like it needs to be that everything that's in the program, no matter how similar or different it looks from maybe another client's, it's in there for a reason and you can explain why that is, right? But I think the biggest thing really is just basic business structure and organization. Like if you know, like, hey, okay, on these days I write my blocks, or hey, I have this many blocks to write this week, so I'm going to write this many a day. Have some type of structured organization. Have your check-ins ordered and in your calendar. It really is just these very simple things that I think have led to a lot of success. And then beyond that, hold yourself accountable to your ethics and standards. I think a big part of why my coaching has grown to the point that it is that if you ask anybody that I've worked with and you ask them, hey, do you have any complaints? At least for me, I've yet to hear anyone say yes. Like it's always like, nope, he's on top of everything, he's on time with everything. If you ask my clients who aren't as well known, like, oh, do you feel like he shows favoritism with the customer? He's like, no, I always get everything that I need. Like that's so important. I think so many coaches, they almost think they got to find like that super strong lifter or like their trophy horse client, and that's what's going to blow them up. But that's just one client. Like you could have a roster of 30 clients, none of them could be elite, but if they are consistent and they're paying you, you are making a full-time living. You are a successful coach at that point. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
Versus if you have the one client who's like really strong, but you're putting all this attention on him, you're neglecting the others, and that's gonna matter. Like your name, your integrity, that matters in this community because there's no one else regulating you. And it only takes one time. That's the thing. Like at this point, I mean, we could use Luke for example because of how on top of things I've been with Luke all this time, if it was one day where like I was late on his block or one day where I didn't get back to the agreed time frame, Luke probably isn't going to care. But guess what? I care. To me, that's not even an option. It can't be an option because the moment you slip up and let it happen once, then you're going to let it happen again and again and again. And you can just keep making excuses and justifications in your head over and over and over. Like if this is a business, you need to have a structure to your business before you even start. I think what happens is some people, when they have like just 5 clients, it's easy to keep up with, right? But then they start growing, they start taking on more and more clients. But because they didn't have a sound structure with how they went about it, suddenly you're overwhelmed. And maybe you're not even intentionally trying to ignore people, but you kind of forget here and there because you were used to like just being free flowing with 5 clients. Now you've got 15 clients and you can't be as free flowing. So having a structure from the start, I think, is so important because even when I first started the online coaching, when I was only working with a handful of people, because I come from a background of in-person training and personal training, I already know like, oh, you need to have structure, you have organization. So I had that from the start. And I think that's one of the biggest things that can help you. If you have that from the start, it's so easy to build upon it. Even when you take clients on, don't just do it haphazardly. Be specific, like, okay, I'm going to take on this many clients in this time frame, hold on to them for however many months, and then I'm going to expand upon it. Because that's another thing too. If you go from say 5 clients to say like 30 across like 2 years, that's going to be very manageable. But if you go from 5 clients to 30 in like 2 months, you're not ready for that. You're not prepared for that. You don't even know like what your work-life balance is going to look like with that, right? So that's important. And I'm not saying that everyone needs to like have office hours off risk or something like that. I did this job for years with that. I only incorporated office hours last year. I wish I would have done it earlier just for work-life balance. But the point is, even just having things like that is so important. Know like when are you going to do certain things, and make sure your expectations with the clients are abundantly clear. Like if you're having clients complain about something because you weren't clear on what the standards were, that's on you. Like it's another thing if you tell a client, hey, I'll respond within 24 hours. If they message you and then 2 hours pass and they get upset and they're blowing things up, you get to say, like, hey, I have proof to show this client knew that they get a response in 24 hours. They have no reason to be this upset about it. But if you didn't make that clear and then the client complains, even if most people think, oh, that's unreasonable, that they're maxing it back to them in 2 hours. Yeah, but you didn't make your expectation and standard clear. Like that's the thing. Like as a coach, you need to make sure things are set up to where no one can speak ill of you objectively, basically, right? It's
Yeah.
one thing if they're just like, I just, I decided I didn't like Marcellus anymore, so I left or something like that. But that make sure that they have nothing that they can objectively complain about because you fulfilled your end of the bargain, right? And I think that's very, very important. And it's really not difficult, but you have to start off that way and build the habits, right? Because it's a lot harder if you've already kind of been dropping the ball and slipping up here and there, and then you try to clean your act up. You can, but you have to break a lot of bad habits. So if you start those habits the right way in the first place, I think that goes very, very far and it will set you up for success. And then of course, the obvious stuff like always keep learning. Always like there's so much information out there, man. There's so many resources on from YouTube, Powerlifting Now, podcasts. Like if I as a as a top level coach, as people like call it, and I'm always still trying to learn more, there's no reason anybody else should not constantly be trying like to learn more. And I don't mean information overload where you're watching stuff just for the sake of it, but learn tools, learn how to use them so you have utilization of stuff. Don't be afraid to ask for help from other coaches or other people. Like, hey man, what do you think about this? Like always be a student of the game. And that way you'll continue to get better. Because there's lots of top level coaches, or maybe they were top level coaches, but they're not now because they got to a certain point and then they got content with that and they stopped learning stuff. So then other coaches, we surpass them because we're still trying to learn and we've got tools that we can use. Where it's like if you keep throwing the same solutions at someone that's not working, they're eventually like, okay, this isn't working. I'm going to go to someone that can actually help me figure this out, right?
Mhm.
'Cause that's another thing too. It's not just gaining clients, it's client retention. Like most of my roster has been with me since like 2019. for years. And most people don't even powerlift that long, but they stay because it's like even when we run into to problems or injuries or whatever, they know that hey, Marcellus is gonna get this figured out. He's gonna find a way to get through it. It's not gonna be him just giving me the same thing over and over and hoping that it sticks. Like, no, we're gonna figure this out. I'm only able to do that because I'm constantly trying to learn more. So I think all that's
Yeah.
very important as a coach too.
Hmm. Yeah, you can't get complacent. Like I've found myself getting complacent in like other areas, like where like I have a routine built up and then I'll just be like, okay, like this is good, but like you need to want more and like to
Hmm.
learn more. Yeah. I find like that's like the biggest thing too, because you could be like, oh, I'm doing well. And then yeah, like everyone around you is just trying to get to where you're at and they could easily surpass you. So that's something to keep in mind for people as well. I was gonna ask you too, because a lot of people have like programming days. So say like they just do it Sundays, like full like programming or any day, Tuesday, whatever. I don't know how you do it, even though you coach me. Like I know when my block's done, you're gonna write the new one. But are you writing blocks throughout, like just like the days of the week? Like you'll do like whatever amount of blocks?
Yeah, so when I had less clients, I could do a thing like if it's like okay, all my clients blocks start anyway from like say Sunday through Mondays when they start. It's like okay, then I can get my blocks on Thursday, Friday. I work with 80 individuals. I'm not writing like so even on like on like a low week, let's say it's like oh, I only have 15 blocks to write this week. A high block writing week might be like 30. I'm not sitting there and writing 30 blocks in a day because even if I took the time to do it, I'm not going to be as focused as I need to be. I'll probably like make a little like typo here and there. So what I do is at the start of each week on Sunday, like I said, I always have my notes. I'm like, okay, who all is on their final week of the block? I look at that, so that way I already know how many blocks I need to write for the week, and based off how many I need to write for the week, lets me know what I need to do. So if it's like, okay, I have 15 blocks due for the week that are all need to be due by Friday. Okay, cool, 15. So I can do 5 a day across 3 days, or I can do 3 a day across 5 days. Or if it's 20, I can do four across 5 days or five across 4 days, right? So that's how I like to do it. So that way, and the way I go about it is based upon like either like let's say like some people's blocks are due on Fridays and some are due on Saturdays. I'll get the Fridays ones done first and the Saturday ones done earlier. Or if it's something I'm like, okay, these guys are in their second block of the macro and the block went well, it's really smooth. I know exactly what we need to do. I can do that quickly, cool. And whereas if it's someone where it's like it's a new macro block, like hey, this is a whole new macro cycle we're about to go through. I got to go through all these other old blocks and stuff like that. I might save that towards the end, get kind of the easier ones done first, and then save the other ones towards the end so I can spend more time and energy on it. And then also just depends on how busy a certain day is. Like if I know like, okay, this is a really high check-in day, okay, maybe I'll only write like a few blocks on this day. Oh, this is a lower check-in day as far as actual calls. Okay, then I'll do more on this day. Or, some days are more DMs than others. Like Mondays are probably like my highest day of DMs because I'm getting videos from both Saturdays and Sundays on Mondays. Whereas like, a Wednesday's not as hectic because it's just people saying their stuff from like Tuesday or the day of on Wednesday, right? So that's why having structure is so important and kind of knowing like an idea of schedule, like when people train and stuff like that, because you then know what your schedule looks like. Because it's like for me, on top of balancing out like between all my clients, like my own training, it's like, hey, I have a wife, I have a daughter, I'm about to have a son. So it's like that balance of responsibilities matters. And guess what? You are able to do that at 9 to 5 because if you go to a 9 to 5, your boss is gonna sit you down and be like, all right, here's all your assignments. Good luck. You have deadlines, you have due dates, you have a structure of what you do and when. So having that for yourself is very important. So yeah, just do the amount of clients that I work with, both for coaching and nutrition. That's what I typically do. I say, okay, like how many are due for the week? I decide how many I'm going to do. I had that in my calendar, and then boom, I stick to that.
Hmm. Yep. Wow. Yeah, no, it's nice how you do it and how professional you take it. I mean, it should be like the standard. Like, but I remember when I had first transitioned from like an office job into like full-time coaching, it was like I'd always have to be at the office at a certain time and I'd be done at a certain time. Then I'd go train. So my day is like written out for me. So then initially when I came into like coaching and then coaching full-time, it was like well, I could just like if I loafed it or say I had other errands to do during the day, then I do my programming stuff at night and I replied to people. Then I can just sleep in till like whenever, like 10, which isn't even that late. But then I'll wake up and I have no urgency because I can do whatever I want. So that's what I would always do. And then I'm just trying to like, I mean, I've optimized it now, but I'm even trying to change things differently. So now instead of like I've replied throughout the day, but I try and attack things in the morning because it just feels so good to do.
Hmm.
And that's how it normally would be. But it's just funny because I've like, we've had even like Nick Manders, for example, like he has his good coaching business, but he has like opposite schedule of most, right? But it's just the way that he does it. It just sounds so crazy because we don't have to do things at like a certain time as long as it's agreed upon by you and your lifters, right?
Yeah. And that's the key. It's like that's why I tell people what's cool about being your own boss is yes, you have the flexibility of how you set your schedule. but you still need a schedule. Like that's the
Mhm.
thing, right? It's like, for me, like I say, like like look right now how it is like, okay, my office hours like 10 a.m. to 6 p.m., right? So if I have one day where I decide, okay, you know what, I'm gonna like respond to stuff from like 10 to 3, and then I'm gonna focus more on block writing from like 3 to 6, cool, I can do that. If another day I decide, I'm gonna just write all my blocks early in the day and then get back to all the DMs last 3 hours, I can do that. That's fine. I can be flexible that way. But the point is, I still have my structure of 10 to 6. And it's like,
Mhm.
whatever time somebody messages me, cool. I now know I have 24 hours from the time they message me to get back to them within the office hours, either today or the next day. No exceptions. That's it. Like that's how you go about it. And even simple things of how you organize it. Like to tell people like, hey, if a lot of people they do their communications like through text message and stuff like that. I personally think that's not great. I think it's more ideal if you have a specific app you use, whether it's WhatsApp, Instagram, whatever, just so you can like so nothing gets lost among like normal messages. Like on Instagram, pretty much, they have the primary and the general chat. So all my clients are automatically in the primary chat and then everything goes in the general chat. That way I can always go to the primary chat at the end of each day, grow through it. Okay, did I get back to everybody? Yep, we're good. Cool. Oh, I didn't get back to this person. Okay, what time they messaged me? Oh, they messaged me at 5:50. And there's 10 minutes in the office hours. Okay, I have till 5:50 tomorrow to get back to them. I'll get back to them the first thing tomorrow. So things like
Mhm.
that. It's like those. It's like I said. It's funny because people are like, man, how do you manage all these people and so on? But it's really simple stuff. It's just being consistent with it. And then the biggest thing is you have to know what your work tolerance is. I tell people this all the time. Most people do not and should not work with 80 clients. Like you have to have a certain tolerance and personality type to work with that many people. And keep in mind, I built up to that over years, right? Everybody has a tolerance. For somebody else, it might be 30. For somebody else, it might be 50. For somebody else, it might be 40. That's okay. But find where it is where you can have a good work-life balance and then don't push past that. Because the moment you do, you're either going to start slacking on the job or slacking on your personal life. And you don't want to do either because they feed into each other.
Mhm. Yeah. Yeah, people are like should slowly get the roster going and then you'll kind of have an idea of like, wow, this is a lot of work or I can like bring on more
Take some
people.
more.
So, mhm.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's where I'm like currently at is like I want to get my roster like it's like around like the 40s. I want to be like 50. You're at like 80, so I don't know how that will ever feel. But if I got 80 right now, it'd be like boom, crash and burn probably. Like just because it's such a
Yeah.
big drastic difference, doubling the workload.
Yeah.
I was gonna say like you being on Instagram, it always just sounds so funny and seems so funny to me because like Instagram just like being a social media app, like I just use it to like mess around. That's also how I use it. But for you, that's where you talk to everyone. But I also agree, like I have WhatsApp. It's not really that different. But like yeah, you have to separate it. Like that's what I really find is like my friends and everyone else like or just normal talking on iMessage is fine, but like WhatsApp is for clients and I'll make sure I log in and that's what I'm doing when I'm on there.
Yeah, yeah, but it makes it a lot easier to not get distracted, basically, too, if you have like this is the work app or whatever it may be.
Mhm.
And that's the thing, it's just like you just even little things like that, like, hey, are you somewhere you need an office space? Maybe you need to be sitting in an office when you write your blocks, whatever, do that. If you're somewhere who can just chill on the couch, cool, that's fine too. But like find what your workflow is and be consistent with that and build it up over time. And that's the thing I tell people too. If you want a big roster, client retention is huge because it's a lot easier to kind of have a bigger roster if you've been working with some of your clients for years because you've got a smooth flow with them. So
Mhm.
yeah.
I have a
Yeah.
question about
Yeah.
office hour things. So you said you're like 10 to 6, that's when you're writing your blocks and responding to people. So do you always train after that? Like after 6 p.m. or do you yeah.
Yeah, so the way the office hours are specifically, so for blocks, I can write those anytime. Sometimes I'll wake up in the morning and write them before the office hours start. That way I can just focus on responding to clients, sometimes after. But typically that's when I do. What the office hours are for is that's when my clients can send me their videos and send me their feedback, and that's when they know that I'll be responding to their videos and their feedback specifically. So as far as training, so oftentimes I'll train afterwards, but sometimes it might be a thing where it's like, okay, it's 4 or 5 p.m. I'll go start my training now. I'll still respond between sets and stuff like that. It just depends on the day, and on what the session is looking like. But basically, for me, what it comes down to is like if I'm going and training early in the day, it's kind of like, oh, I kind of need to because I have something I have to do with family or whatever, which is fine because I just be like, okay, cool. That means anyone who's messages me, say like 4 p.m. or afterwards, if I'm able to get back to them, like as I'm training, cool. But if not, cool. I have till 4 p.m. the next day to get back to them.
Okay.
A good story actually was like I think Marcellus, you were at one of the nationals or a big meet where you had lots of people before you had office hours. So like I'd messaged you and like again, like you said, I wouldn't care if it had taken you longer to get back to me because like like you're my friend too, and it's like it's nothing that urgent. But like at 3 a.m., Marcellus sends me a voice note. You can hear he's like dead, but he's like giving me like the info that I need, like based upon the session. But he's like dead at 3 a.m. And I'm like, bro, do not like it didn't notify me, but like don't message me at 3 a.m. Just go to bed. And he's like, I can't. He's like, I can't let that happen. So
Yeah,
it's just
no, because
crazy.
yeah, it's because back then it was before the office hours, it was just, hey, I'll always respond within 24 hours. That's how I would do things. And I just looked at it and I'm like, okay, if I wait 24 hours for the next day, the chances are I'm not going to get back to this because I knew I had to handle a bunch the next day. So I'm like, I got to get to this right now. So and that's the thing. Like that's how it is for me. It's just like even though I know, like I said, I know Luke wouldn't care. In my mind, I view it as like, hey, if I don't do this, Luke will fire me. I know he won't, but that's how I have to view it. So that way you
Yeah.
take it that seriously. So yeah.
No, it's good. Like, I mean, not that I actually would have cared at all, but like the way that you would just handle yourself and the way that you look at it, I think it should be like the standard. And like just having you as a coach even just like helps me be better because I'm like, bro, like I know I'm doing a good job. I know my athletes are happy, but I'm like the way that Marcellus goes about it is just like different than like what I see or I have seen for other coaches, like a little bit more laxed. And I like the way that you're very on it.
Yeah. No,
Yeah.
the office hours are definitely important though. I'll never forget when I finally decided to do it was my wife sent me a picture from my baby girl's camera monitor in her room. It's like 4 in the morning and I'm putting her to sleep and I'm responding to clients at 4 in the morning. And I'm like, yeah, I can't keep doing this. This is crazy. So that's when I got the office hours. Yeah.
Yeah. Definitely the right move, man. Like 80 people is crazy.
I think that's a good idea, but like I like to train midday, so I'm just thinking like I could have my whatever 9 to 12, then go train, and then have hours later in the day. And I find
Yeah.
most of my clients train like later in the day anyway, so that's kind of prime time to be like responding to people. And then, like,
Yep.
I like to get the programs done first because I agree with you. I feel like there's no reason a block should be late, so I always make sure like my programs are like written first, like that's my priority, and then I guess
Yep.
having office hours later would be good.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I mean, I think it works well for most people. And like I said, it's a thing where it's like, since most people don't have 80 people, it's not like you're using those office hours. It's not you're responding really throughout the entirety of all of it, right? Like, because there's going to be, spurts where people aren't messaging or whatever. So you definitely could set it up that way. Where it's like, okay, cool. This is like my lunch break or my whatever. And that's why I tell people, like, hey, make it as structured as what works for you. Like, that's why I tell people, you don't have to do it the way that I do it. The key, though, is have structure, be consistent with it, make sure your clients know what's up. And honestly, beyond the fact that, of course, the most important thing is like, hey, it's going to be best for your business clients, but I promise you, like, it's better for you. Like, you will feel so much better, like, with your workflow, your life balance. It's because that's one thing that can happen, like the opposite. That's the thing. I never struggle with not doing what I'm supposed to do. This, what I struggle with was sometimes being like, man, I feel like I'm always working. And that can also be an issue. It's like, you want to be able just to sit down and like, enjoy a meal with your partner or go hang out with your friends or whatever. And even when I got to the point where it's not like I would be working while I was doing that stuff, but the thing is, I can't be fully enjoying what I'm doing. Because in the back of my mind, I'm like, man, as soon as I leave this place and open up my phone, it's going to be like flooded with messages. So that's where the office hours really helped. It was like, hey guys, office hours aren't just when I respond. This is the only time y'all can send me stuff. Because for me, there's a peace of mind knowing, hey, when I wake up, I'm not going to see DMs coming in until 10. And once 6 p.m. starts, only DMs I'm going to see coming in after that are just like friend stuff, right? It's good for the mental. And everyone's different as far as that. So yeah, it's good to have that work-life balance. I always tell people if you don't take care of yourself, then you can't take care of your clients anyway.
Mhm. Yeah. I remember when you first put in the office hours and I sent you something after, and then you were like politely, obviously, you're like, no, man, like you can't even message me like during this time, like wait until tomorrow. And I was like, oh, it seems weird, but then like thinking about it, like it makes sense. Like, and you're so on time with everything else, and like I could literally just wait till the next day. It was just like a little adjustment for the athlete, but it's not a big deal. Like if you
Yeah.
like the coach, it is what it is.
Well, first of all, what's funny is almost all my clients were like, bro, it's about time you did this. Like, you're kind of insane with like not having hours in the first place. But the reason I explain to people why I do it that way is because like I said, I've spent years building myself up, like responding to things. So it's like, if I see the message there, even if it's after office hours, I'm going to open it. Like I have to. Like I'm gonna open. I'm not gonna. I'm like, because just even seeing that blue dot just pisses me off. So I'm like, no, I'm gonna open this and see what's going on. So that's why I mean, like, hey, this is when you send stuff because it's just nice. It's nice to know that my phone's not going to be going off, and I, instead of having it's going off and I'm ignoring, it's like, nope, it's just not going off. So
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah. Good for the peace of mind.
One quick
Um,
thing, if you're cool, before we go, because I don't know
yeah,
if
yeah.
this
yeah,
is a thing
yeah.
already. I don't know if this is a thing on powerlifting now or not yet. but you briefly talked about it too, is like, so one thing I'm sure Luke struggles with it too, is like whenever we have our big championships, for example, like nationals, a lot of times like a lot of our lifters are like competing before and then we have to compete. So like I think like having a thing where you talk about like how do you manage that, like handling all these people and then competing. So I know you said briefly that Brad was saying like the day before you compete, man, try to stay in the crowd, like don't actually be back in the warm-up room. I feel like that's a
Yeah.
pretty cool topic. I don't know if that's already a topic on powerlifting now or not, but I feel like because Sean also did that, I believe, right? Where
Yeah, yeah. No, it's not. I don't think any of us have covered it yet officially. But yeah, no, I mean, I definitely, that's actually a great idea. I might do that actually.
yeah, because I think a lot of coaches are in that same boat, and especially people that are like more competitive and want to prioritize like doing well at their meet. Sometimes it is really hard, like all the days preceding, like you're handling all these clients, and then you have to figure out like how to not let that like beat you up or make you too fatigued before lifting.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, no, absolutely. No, that's a great idea. Yeah, I'll definitely touch on that then.
cool.
Yeah. Yeah, I just took Marcellus's advice for that because like I was like, oh, I might handle the day before. He's like, man, I would just get someone else to do it, maybe support like and hype numbers, but I don't think plate loading and all that beforehand is the best idea.
Yeah.
Yeah, someone that's done it many times, it's not. Don't do that.
It
Like, you're
is so
gonna
hard
regret
though. Like for us, like so like I'm 93, for example. It's like so all like the whatever 74, 83, all of them are before me. So like it's really hard to
Yeah.
say, like, for example, the juniors that are like really early in the week, it's like, okay, I can coach you guys. But then my open 74 or like my 83, whatever, is like, oh sorry, I can't. So
Yeah, what my general rule of thumb is if it's the day before I like so pretty much the day before I compete or the sessions on the same day that I compete before me, those are the ones where like okay, I'll try to get somebody else to do it or whatever.
yeah.
Um And then anything outside of that, like if it's 2 days before, I'll be doing it. If it's anything after, I'll be doing it. And it can even depend because it's sometimes like, okay, let's say like you have someone in the morning session the day before you go, but that's all you have is okay, you wake up, you go handle them, and then you can just chill the rest of the day. I think that's a little bit more doable. But if it's like, okay, I would have like 2 or 3 sessions the day before, that's when it's like, okay. And of course, you always have to make sure, hey, what your client's comfortable with too. And that's where the communication comes in. Like because there's some coaches where their clients don't even have to worry about that because their coaches don't compete. But like my clients when they come to me, they know like that I also compete. So I let them know, hey, just so you know, if it's a national meet or if it's me that we're both competing at, just know this is how I tend to go about it based upon these circumstances, and just make sure they're comfortable with it, right?
Yeah. I feel like
Um,
most people are understanding for sure. But I found like
yeah,
when you're like really emotionally invested in like your lifters, it's
it's hard, man.
super draining. Like imagine
Yeah.
if you had to handle, for example, you had to handle Sean in that 83 session, and then you had to handle Petrie in the 93, and then you competed after. Like
Oh,
it's
I just would. I mean, Luke knows this. Like, so this past national is my first time competing at nationals since the Mega Nats in Vegas in like 2022. And it's not from I've qualified every year, but in 2023 and 2024 I opted out of it because I'm just like, okay, I have like depending on the year for like 25 to 40 clients to handle. I'm not doing that plus competing. It's because it's like I know I'm not gonna perform the way I want to. And if I try to do it, the amount of clients that I would have to skip out on handling, like even the day before, just wouldn't be worth it to me. Um, so that's why I think it just comes down to like also depending on like, okay, how serious is that meet for you as a lifter too? Because like you said, you are going to be emotionally invested and it's going to be very tough to bounce back from that. Like even sometimes, like even Petrie, he had some sessions he had to handle beforehand, and I kept telling him, hey man, make sure you're sitting down. Like, hey, you're not allowed to get hyped for your clients, bro. Like, just out of your head and just like it is so funny because he's the type of person who usually gets hyped, and you see him on the live stream, you can see him like resisting it, just being like, all right, just dapping him up and then keeping it going. So it's like, yeah, no, it's but no, that's a good idea for a topic. I think I definitely will cover that at some point this year, kind of just the different things that I've done that have kind of helped alleviate that.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much, man, for coming on the podcast. This was a really good one. Like we touched lots of good stuff. I think anyone listening could learn something from it. So thank you again for coming on. Um, you have your Instagram is just what is the Swolefessor, right?
Yep. Instagram's just at the Swolefessor, one
And
word.
then
YouTube, the
YouTube.
Swolefessor, and then powerlifting now as well. That I do with Steve Denovi, Matt Cronin, Marshall Powell, and Sean Noriega.
Yeah. Yeah. Powerlifting now is amazing. If anyone wants to check it out, I'm sure like you can just subscribe and like if you didn't like it, you could just unsubscribe the next month. No, like there's no commitment.
hmm
Yeah, I would
hmm
definitely check it out then if you guys are interested in learning more. It's really good. Even the podcasts are so nice, like because I love listening to podcasts, and it's like, okay, well, this one's like actually I can learn stuff from it while I'm like doing other things too. As long as I can pay attention a little, I'm good. So yeah, I'm a big fan. And there's lots of like videos that are just like sit down videos. Those are good too. So yeah, really big fan. So definitely check that out. But Yeah, once again, man, thank you for coming on.
Yeah, no problem, man. I appreciate it. Appreciate y'all having me on. It was a good time. I always enjoy podcasts. It's just fun to chill and talk.
Yeah, I love when it's like, well, I mean, obviously I know you pretty well, but it's like when it's such a friendly kind of conversation, you can touch on so much and it doesn't feel forced. It was just, yeah, a really nice one.
Yeah, I think it's funny. I'm glad you guys didn't do this because a lot of podcasts be like, yeah, guys, we're gonna talk about whatever. Like, but anything you want us to delete, we can delete. I'm just like, that's crazy. Like, I'm like, I'm down to talk about whatever. Don't delete anything. But yeah.
Yeah, no, appreciate it, man. Well, yeah, thank you and have a great rest of your day. Also, I mentioned it to you, but like, congrats on the baby boy, man. That's awesome.
Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate it.
But yeah, thank you again, taking the time out of your Sunday to join the podcast.
No problem. Hope you all have a good day.
All right,
All
you
right,
too,
buddy.
man.
We will. You too.
See ya.
Bye-bye.
There you go.